the speaking instructions or the sign-in instructions with the Milpitas ID is on tonight's agenda. So thank you very much, and calling the meeting to order. And the next agenda item here is Pledge of Allegiance. Will Commissioner Albana lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the
Commissioner Albana?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Yes,
pledge
please.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
for
which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And the next agenda item here is roll call. Ms. Medina, if you will. Roll
Thank you,
call,
Chair. Commissioner Albana,
Here.
Commissioner Alcorn,
Here.
Commissioner Belong,
Present.
Vice Chair Chuan,
Here.
Commissioner Ciardella,
Present.
Commissioner Galang,
Present.
and Chair Tao.
Here, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And the next agenda item here is a conflict of interest declaration. City Attorney, if you will, please poll the commissioners, please.
Yes, Chair. I ask whether any of the commissioners have a financial or personal conflict of interest on any of the items before you tonight. I'll just go down the line. Commissioner Galang,
No, sir.
Commissioner Ciardella,
I understand since I volunteer over at the Milpitas Bingo, I cannot vote on this.
oh, okay.
That's what I was told by Ned.
Oh, I think the attorney's opinion was different. I don't think it precluded you from voting on the matter. Just wanted you to state that you occasionally were there as a volunteer. Is that correct, Martin? As if I read your
That's correct. Commissioner, based on your email from earlier today, we clarified that you would be able to participate despite your volunteer activities.
Okay, great.
Okay. Commissioner Albana,
None.
Commissioner Belong,
None.
Commissioner Alcorn,
None.
Vice Chair Chuan,
None.
and Chair Tao.
Yes, I'll declare conflict on the first public hearing item, the 461 South Milpitas Boulevard, the Milpitas Charity Bingo application. I represent the property owner for that particular item, so chair shall recuse. Thank you.
Okay, let the record reflect that Chair Tao will be recusing himself from the first item on tonight's hearing.
Thank you, Martin. We appreciate it. And the next agenda item here is approval of the agenda. Staff, any changes?
we have no changes on the agenda tonight, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. And commissioners, any changes? Okay, seeing none. And can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for March 24th.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm sorry, who seconded? I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. And so I'll go ahead to go down the line and for the vote. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Chuan and a second by Commissioner Alcorn. So Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong. Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
Chair, aye as well, 7-0. Approval of the agenda is complete. And the next item here is the approval of minutes. And we have 2 minutes this evening for the commissioners for the commission's approval. The first item here is the first meeting minutes here being considered is the February 10th. It's a special meeting. meeting minutes. Commissioners, any changes? Seeing none. Staff, any changes?
No changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Okay, and we have Commissioner Galan for the motion, and a second, please.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. I'll go down the line for the vote. Commissioner Albana,
Aye.
Commissioner Galan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella,
Aye.
Commissioner Belong,
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuan,
Aye.
and Chair I as well. Passed 7-0 ayes. And the next meeting minutes is the March 10th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. And staff, any changes?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any changes?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner
Yeah.
Albana.
Is that the one where there was a vote and I think it said that those who said no's were 2 only, but it said 4 in the agenda? In the
Correct. And
Yeah,
that
there
shall
was-
be corrected. So let the record reflect in the corrected meeting agenda is the vote on the March 10th item. I believe that's the second public hearing item is 4 ayes, 2 no's, and 1 abstain.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Thank you. We have not voted on this one here, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Medina. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve based on the amended?
I move that it be approved.
Based on the amended conditions?
With the amended conditions, yes.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Albana and a second by Commissioner Belong. So I'll go down the line for the vote. Commissioner Albana,
Aye.
Commissioner Galan,
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella,
Aye.
Commissioner Belong,
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn,
Aye.
Commissioner Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
Chair I as well. Thank you. It's a 7-0 approval. And the announcements, planning commissioners, any announcements? Vice Chair.
Just wanted to make a note that I met with the applicant for the second agenda item yesterday.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. And of Commissioner Ciardella.
Yes, I met with them on a Zoom meeting on Monday also.
I think by them, your references to the applicant on the second agenda item, public hearing item. Okay, thank you. And
Sir, I also met the applicant last night through Zoom.
okay, and the applicant for the
Check number 2 item.
thank you. And Commissioner Albana, you raised your hand as well.
Yes, I also met with the item number 2 applicant Monday.
Thank you very much. And Commissioner Alcorn.
Always picked last year. I met with the applicant in the second agenda item. It's also on my calendar. Hopefully it's on everyone else's calendar as well. Thank you, Liz, for the reminder on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. And we'll make sure my eyes is moved along in the correct fashion next time. Commissioner Belong.
Yes, I received a phone call from a business agent from Sprinkler Fitters, UA Local 483, discussing item number 2 as well.
Okay, thank you. And Chair had previously met via Zoom meeting with the applicant and also applicant's consultant back in last year. And those are the subsequent phone conversation with the applicant's consultant. So that should be also reflected on my meeting agenda as well. Thank you very much. And announcements for Planning Director, any announcements?
I do not have any specific announcements tonight, Chair, but thank you to the planning commissioners for, I was copied on a lot of emails back and forth with Liz, putting things on your calendars, and we appreciate your keeping up with that. Liz is very diligent about keeping those on the calendar. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Appreciate it. So next agenda item here is a public forum. Those interested are invited to address Planning Commission on any subject not on tonight's agenda, orally via Zoom webinar, instructions above. Speakers may provide their name and city of residence for the recording secretary's record. And comments may be limited to 3 minutes or less. As an item not listed on the agenda, no response is required from the city staff or the Planning Commission, and no action can be taken. Planning Commission may instruct the staff to place the item on the future meeting agenda. So Ms. Medina, do we have any members of the public in the queue?
Yes, Chair, we have, at the moment, we have 3 community members. We have, first we'll go, now 4. We'll start with Parag Kumar.
Okay. All right. So given tonight's meeting is, that's fine. We'll limit the speakers to 3 minutes. So Mr. Parag, go ahead, please.
Hello. So this is Parag Kumar from the Palazzo community. And this is in reference to the cement distribution factory that's proposed by the Planning Commission. So before I raise my comments, we are requested to cede our time to one of our neighbors, Ramesh Raman. Would the Planning Commission allow that? So we have one speaker speak on behalf of the whole community versus us individually speaking on the presentation that we have emailed.
Okay, thank you. And next speaker, please.
So that was my.
Mr. Kumar, are you finished?
He's wondering if he can, him and others can
cede our time.
Subject their time to one speaker to speak on behalf of multiple people.
Chair's decision is to allow the individual speak, and we will not be ceding time from one member to another. And so we'll go over the procedures at a time when the public hearing item come up. So to answer your question here, Mr. Kumar, is that there's no ceding of time. Thank you. And
Chair, next we have Mr. Ramesh Raman.
Okay, Mr. Raman, you have the floor, please. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. This is really helpful. We did want to share a few concerns, but at a very high level, we've shared a presentation already with members. We wanted to let you know that the community right now, like we understand, is a very high density residential community. It has about approximately about 1,500 units already occupied. We expect about 4,500 residents in this area. Expected another 200 units are coming up over the year or next year or two. And we believe that we are at extreme risk of both,
Mr. Raman, may I interrupt you for a second? Is this, yes, are you addressing the second public hearing item?
Please say that again.
Are you addressing the second public hearing item on tonight's agenda?
Yes, the
okay,
second.
So for the public forum is for items not on tonight's agenda. So you will be addressing the Planning Commission when the public hearing is opened for the second public hearing item that which you're interested.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Medina, the next speaker, please.
Yes, the next person we have is Narayanan Krishnamurthy.
Okay, and the speaker, if you will, you have the floor.
Hello there. Hello, everyone. I also wanted to talk about the same topic that Ramesh and Parag were here for. So whenever we have the opportunity to speak, I can speak at that time.
Absolutely. We welcome you back at that time during the public hearing process. Thank you very much for your patience. Okay. And Ms. Medina, any other public members of the public in the queue?
Yes, we have Abhisek Agrawal.
Okay. Mr. or Ms. Agrawal, you have the floor, please. Mr. or Ms. Agrawal? Ms. Medina, are you able to get a speaker on?
I cannot unmute him.
Okay,
So would you like to move to the next speaker?
please.
It is Mr. Robert Shannon.
Okay, Mr. Shannon, the floor is yours.
Chairman Tao, I apologize. I'm out of sequence as well. I will rejoin at the appropriate time for item 2, agenda 2.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Ms. Medina, next.
We have Miss Jackie Romero.
Ms. Romero, the floor is yours.
Oh.
Ms. Romero?
Oh, I get. Oh, okay, she put her hand down. Perhaps she's also calling for. Oh no, actually, okay. Jackie Romero, here we are.
Mr. Romero, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, City Planning Commission, for your time and your commitment to our community. I just wanted to bring up a topic that was brought to my attention just recently. There are a lot of community projects that are being done, and I just want to make sure that there's some consensus on the board that there is the opportunity for the community to learn more about it before it gets to the table. If there's any way to put out information on social media about different projects that are going around our neighborhoods versus just, expecting people to go to your website, especially if it's going to affect the area that they're going to be putting the development in. The second thing I wanted to say is community partners are really important. And I just want to acknowledge the fact that there's some developers that are very mindful of that, and they come in and they are very helpful to the community. And then there's some that make no effort to do that. And I just want to put that in the forefront of this conversation. And again, just thank you for all your time and hard work to approve projects that are going to be best for Milpitas as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. And Ms. Medina, do we have any other speakers?
I have one more speaker, Mr. or Mrs. Dina DeCayos.
Okay, Mr. or Mrs. DeCanios, floor is yours.
Okay, I just want to say we love the city and are proud to call it home. I know the area very well. I talked to Overton Moore about their project. Thanks, Overton Moore, and your.
Are you speaking about the second public hearing item?
Yes.
Okay, the public forum here is for items that's not on tonight's agenda. So if you will come back during the public hearing segment of the second public hearing item.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Medina?
That's all we have, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So,
thank you.
Okay. So we're moving on to the next agenda item. It's a public hearing item. And so Vice Chair, if you will, take over, please.
First, I'd like to make a motion, see if somebody would like to make a motion to close the public forum.
Move to close the public forum.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Galong and second by Commissioner Ciardella. So I'll go down the row for a roll call vote. So Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Commissioner Galong.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Bialong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Okay, the public forum is closed. So next item on the agenda is item number 1, and this is the charity bingo expansion request. Planning Director.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So this item is rather interesting. A while ago, there was a use permit that was approved, a site development permit that was approved for Milpitas Charity Bingo, and they have been very successful. They're now in to request an amendment to their use permit to increase their floor size by 25%. And this is actually a non-conforming use within the M2 heavy industrial district, but there was a certain language inserted into the amendment, the zoning ordinance amendment by the council to allow this increase of a non-conforming use at this location. And all of the details are included in the staff report, and we have our senior planner, we have our assistant planner, Krishna Kumar, here to present the staff report and answer any questions.
Thank you, Planning Director. Having said that, I'll go over to Associate Planner Krishna Kumar.
Thank you, Director Thomas, and good evening, Vice Chair and Commissioners. The application in front of you. I'm sorry, did somebody say something?
That was an echo.
Oh, sorry. The application in front of you this evening is a request to amend a conditional use permit number P-UP 18-0008 to allow the expansion of an existing entertainment use, also known as Milpitas Charity Bingo, up to 25% of the original floor area as allowed by zoning text amendment ordinance number 38.837 in an industrial zone. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Here we see the satellite view of 461 South Milpitas Boulevard, which is outlined in red, located near the intersection of South Milpitas Boulevard and Turquoise Street. This map shows the general location of the site in relation to the surrounding neighborhood. Next slide. The zoning ordinance designates this site as M2 heavy industrial, and the new general plan designation is manufacturing, or MFG. The surrounding properties to the north, south, and east are zoned M2 heavy industrial, and the property to the west is zoned R4 multifamily, very high density. Next slide. In this slide, shown here is the existing and proposed floor plans. On December 12, 2018, the Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of an entertainment use within an existing building located in M2 zoning district. On June 1st, the Planning Department staff approved a conditional use permit amendment, which requested to extend the hours of operation. The original hours of operation were Wednesday to Saturday from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and the new hours of operation are Wednesday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 12 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The zoning ordinance text amendment 38.837 was introduced by the City Council on October 15, 2019 and adopted on November 5, 2019. The zoning regulations for industrial zones in the city of Milpitas conditionally permitted several non-industrial uses that may be incompatible with adjacent heavy industrial activities. The approval of conditional use permits for several non-industrial uses in industrial zones in recent years had begun to adversely impact the integrity of industrial areas of the city. It was determined that the preservation of industrial land was an economic development priority for the city. Restricting or prohibiting non-industrial uses in industrial zoning districts will help maintain the supply of industrial land, as well as the viability of such land for heavy industrial activities and employment. The zoning text amendment also allowed expansion of assembly uses approved after February 7, 2017 that are rendered legal non-conforming. These uses could apply to expand in floor area up to 25% of existing floor area until December 31st, 2020. With this application, the applicant is proposing a 25% increase in the floor area as allowed by the zoning text amendment ordinance. The existing square footage for bingo operations as approved in 2018 is 8,552 square feet. The applicant is proposing to add 2,138 square feet for a total of 10,690 square feet. The additional space comes from an existing adjacent suite that the applicant acquired from completion of the original tenant improvements. Milpitas Charity Bingo will use the additional space to allow adequate social distancing by players during the pandemic. The proposed expansion will not require any changes to the existing building facade, existing building footprint, site landscaping, or on-site parking. Next slide. Here's the site plan of the existing building. The subject building is serviced by 217 parking spaces. The parking analysis table demonstrates that even at maximum site occupation, there would still remain a surplus of 48 parking spaces. In addition, the entertainment use operates outside the standard hours of operation of the existing professional office uses located within the building, and the parking needs of each use will be complementary. Next slide. This project is exempt from further environmental review under CEQA guideline sections 15301 existing facilities, 15332 infill development projects, and 15183 projects consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning. Next slide, please. Staff has confirmed that project meets the findings associated with the conditional use permit as set out in Milpitas Municipal Code. These findings have been discussed in the staff report and are addressed in the resolution. Next slide. Staff provided public notice for the application in accordance with the city and state public noticing requirements. The city published a public hearing notice in the Milpitas Post on March 12th and sent notices via mail to 57 residents and owners within 1,000 feet of the project site, and a sign was also posted on the project site. As of this evening, staff has received no public comments. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission open and close the public hearing and adopt resolution number 21-004, approving conditional use permit number UP 20-0024, subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes the staff summary of the project, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Also, Robert Levengood, project consultant, and architect Robin Tibbetts are here from the applicant team, and Bob would like to make a small presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Planner Kumar. Appreciate that. So having said that, maybe before we go to the applicant, do I have any questions from any of the commissioners at this time? Okay, I have no one raising their hands. So at this time, I Mr. Livengood, would you please present your presentation?
Sure. I hope you all can hear me. I know in the world of Zoom, it's sometimes kind of crazy. I was on 3 different meetings yesterday, and I think I was only able to successfully talk about twice. But anyway, first off, I want to say thank you very much, first off, to the staff, to Krishna, and to all the planning folks who helped get this before you in a very expeditious fashion. We're here tonight because we started operations as a charity bingo game about 17 months ago. And before we really got our feet on the ground, the whole world changed. And so we are now in a position where we have the ability and the approval from the city to have 290 bingo players, but with the provisions and the safety protocols that we need to put into place, we can't get anywhere near that number into our bingo hall now. So what are we asking for? Basically, we're asking for an extra 2,100 or so square feet. Our intention is to create a much larger bingo hall, which will allow us to get closer to that 290 player number, which is what we would be optimum for us. So social distancing is a big challenge for us. So we are expanding, hopefully, with your approvals. We're going to improve our ventilation by looking at removing some of the drop-down ceiling and create better ventilation for the bingo hall. We're going to remove enclosed areas. We found that during the course of the pandemic, the closed areas, the offices that we have were virtually useless. Couldn't use them because they're too enclosed. So if you'll see the site plans, you'll see that about 1,000 square feet of office space is being removed, and it's going to be replaced with a floor space for the bingo hall. And we have to maintain some very strict sanitation protocols. So we're working on how to do that. All that takes up space. So as a result, we are hoping to have an extra 2,100 square feet that we can incorporate in our bingo hall, remove some of our enclosed spaces, spread people out, and accomplish the very important goal of social distancing, and then get ourselves in a position where we can get closer to our approved number of 290 players in this very difficult time. We are very happy that the pandemic seems to be abating. The numbers are getting better. We were just moved into the orange tier yesterday. So those are all very good things. But we believe that social distancing will be something that people are going to want in the future, even after this pandemic is through. So we want to be prepared for that. And the only way we can do that is to get more space. We appreciate the fact that the city is giving us this opportunity back in 2019 when they allowed for a small increase in our square footage. And so we're very happy to be here. We appreciate all your work and support. And I'm here to answer any questions. If anything is more appropriate for for Robin, our architect, I'll be glad to turn it over to him to answer questions too. But with that, Mr. Chair, I'll just turn it back over and say again, thank you very much for all of your support during this process.
Thank you, Mr. Livingood. Appreciate, I'm sorry, Mr. Livingood. Thank you for your presentation. At this time, do I have any questions from any of the commissioners? If you do, please raise your hand either on the screen or on the, through Zoom. So I don't see any hands. So no questions from any commissioners. Okay, let's
through the chair.
I do. Okay, Commissioner Belong.
I just had a quick question. During the pandemic shutdown, was the hall open at any time, or was it available to be open at any time?
Can I answer that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you may, please.
Okay. So yes, for a very, very short period of time, Mr. Belong, in I think it was October or November, the state put the county of Santa Clara into the orange tier. That orange tier allows for entertainment uses like us to open up with a 25% maximum capacity usage. So the answer to your question is yes, for about a 2-week period back in, I think it was October, we actually had the bingo hall open. We had a maximum of 95 people that were able to play. That's all we can do. And that's exactly where we will be tomorrow night. We are able to reopen the bingo hall tomorrow night with 95 people in the exact same configuration that we were in back in October. But
So
other than that, the bingo hall has not been open.
Okay. And so with the, if the increase is approved, what does that do for your capacity at that point?
It will mean that we can probably safely get with the current social distancing guidelines, which are 6 feet, right, on all sides of somebody sitting there with a mask on, 6 feet around, front, back, left and right. We can probably get about 200 people in that hall. So we're still not going to be at 290. Now, I anticipate that it's possible that some guidelines may come down from the county or from the state or from CDC that says that 3 feet of social distancing is enough. And if we get to that point, then we'll probably be able to get very close to 290. But right now, I would say the best we could hope for after we've cleared things out and are ready to go would be about 200.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Livingood, and thank you, Commissioner Belong. Do I have any other questions from any of the other commissioners?
The Vice Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Alcorn.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Livingood?
I'm good, Tim. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. So I was wondering if you guys had any plans for any sort of outdoor activities or outdoor play at any time.
Yeah, we-
Anything outdoor, pretty much.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything outdoor like put tents up or anything like that because that doesn't look good. It's not conducive to play bingo in. But we did go to the health department way back in probably July of last year, and we worked out a system that they approved where people could play bingo, but they had to stay in their cars. So we parked the cars socially distanced, just like people, 6 feet apart, and people played basically via Zoom. And somebody inside calling numbers, and when people got a bingo, they honked their horns. So yes, we did that. If you consider that outdoor, yes, we've been doing that. It doesn't make us a lot of money, but it keeps the doors open and keeps our bingo players kind of happy. And it's also allowed us to continue to donate to local nonprofits. We're over $300,000 now in donations since we started. And that's with being closed down completely for 4 months and hardly, not being able to do a whole lot when we're just playing outside. We only have 80 or 90 people out there at the most. So that's outdoors, but we're not going to do any, I know some people are doing like outdoor dining and outdoor gaming and stuff like that. And they have tents and all that. We're not going to get in. It's not conducive for bingo.
Yeah. Well, hey, you guys got creative. That's actually pretty cool. So that was it. Thank you. Good to see you, Mr. Ivan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. Any other further questions from any of the commissioners?
Here, I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Galam.
Hey, good evening, Bob. Live and good.
Alex, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Long time no see.
I know. I feel like I'm mayor again with all you. There's a lot of you on there I appointed to the planning commission. Good to see you. You're still there.
Good to see you. Mr. Livingood, my concern is the entrance and the exit. What if most players, they come at the same time? Do you have a certain entrance, a big entrance or an exit? Do you modify your because right now we don't want to class in people in the same area, like for example for entrance.
Yes.
Can you go to the exit area, even going inside or just on the entrance?
Are you talking about the vehicular entrance or the entrance into the bingo hall?
To the bingo hall, yes.
Yeah. So we will have with this expansion, it will allow us to have a second egress ingress point off of what you would call the east side of the building. So we'll actually improve that, Alex. I think that we've been sensitive to that. Right now we have one primary entrance. There's also a secondary one further to the west. And then there's this one that sits over on Milpitas Boulevard that we haven't used yet because it doesn't exit into the bingo hall. Once we get this done, then that entrance will actually be a full entrance into the bingo hall. So that will allow us to better move people around and get one entrance and one exit. As you know, when a lot of these retail stores and others are directing people, right? Go in the door and go back out that door.
Yes.
Right? And so that we'll be able to do that once this is done.
So exit normally it's in the back area?
No, normally most people are the actual exits itself are through one set of doors, which is on the north side of the building, facing the parking lot.
Yeah, is this bingo a sit down bingo?
Yes, this will be in a bingo hall. Yes.
So what size of table you normally?
That's a good question. We, as part of this process, we're going to buy bigger tables. Right now, they're 6 feet by 30 inches. 6 feet long, 30 inches wide. We're going to go to 3 feet wide tables, which will give everybody more space.
Do you still practice the social distancing?
Yes, and that's one of the problems we have is that the tables that we bought, we weren't thinking about social distancing 2 years ago. So this is all new to us. So yes, tables will be larger when we reopen.
Can they bring their own table?
No, we provide tables and chairs for the players.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, no other questions. Vice Chair does have one question for Mr. Livingood or Mr. Tibbetts. I'm just wondering, so, a lot of the discussion we're having here is, during this pandemic time, and I just want to understand what will the capacity be post-pandemic?
Okay, so I can answer that. So the city has allowed us through our use permit, 290 is our maximum capacity. And that's based on what our parking availability is and the size of our bingo floor and all of that. Once we're done, we're not going to be able to see any more than that because our use permit doesn't allow us to. Our use permit says 290. And in fact, like I said earlier, we're not going to be able to get 290 in this hall with social distancing. My guess is that we're going to top out at about 200, 210 will be the maximum we'll be able to seat. Once we get all this opening done, I think that's where we're going to be. But we're not going to get back to 290, even with the additional 2,000 square feet with any level of social distancing, which we're committed to doing, by the way. We're not going to get back to 290 anytime soon, but that's what we are approved for.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I realize you did say that during your presentation. I just wanted clarification, just post-pandemic there. So appreciate that. So at this time, any other questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, no other questions from the commissioners. Being that this is a public hearing item, Ms. Medina, do we have any? I'd like to open up the public hearing. Ms. Medina, do we have any public comments at this time?
Yes, we do. We have 2 community members in the queue, actually 3. First, starting with Miss Jackie Romero.
Okay, thank you. Okay, to all the being the public hearing, you have 3 minutes, and I want to remind everyone who is speaking for the public hearing that this will be particularly on this particular item and not the second agendized item. So go ahead, Ms. Romero.
Thank you, Vice Chair Schwan. Just wanted to say, my opening public comment was right on cue in regards to this project. I think this is an amazing project. I had no intention of speaking on this project, to be completely honest with you, but when I heard that was the project, Mr. Bidengood, to ask for the expansion, I was very compelled to stay on and just, I just want to share, this is what I'm talking about, community partners. Has a opportunity for a lot of our nonprofits in Milpitas to be able to leverage his business. And I'm part of the Milpitas Athletic Booster Club. Our president, Ferdy Centeno, is not able to be here tonight, but at this time, but I would like to say that the Athletic Booster Club of Milpitas High School has benefited from the charity bingo. Also, I understand Fancy Dancers from Milpitas and a lot of other charities in Milpitas. So I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Livingood for creating a business that is really community-based. And number 1, thank you for that. And number 2, I hope that this project gets approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Romero. Ms. Medina, may we have the next speaker?
Yes, the next speaker is Miss Barbara Jo Navarro.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Medina. Okay, Ms. Navarro, you have 3 minutes. Ms. Navarro, you're on mute. Okay.
Okay, good evening. I wanted to speak on behalf of this request. I'm a member of the Sunny Hills Residents Association, and we have been at Charity Bingo helping as volunteers. And this does benefit greatly the nonprofits in our Milpitas community. We were raising money for scholarships for the high school students, seniors. And Mr. Livingood is doing an excellent job of running the bingo charity. And I think that this would be great to expand it so that the nonprofits in Milpitas could benefit even more. So please keep that in consideration when you vote tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ms. Navarro. Ms. Medina, may we have the next speaker?
Yes, we have Abhisek Agrawal.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Medina. Mr. Agrawal, you have.
So I have to speak on the second topic. So I think
before you start, if it's on the second topic, that will be for the second agendized item. There. So at this time, if it's for the second item, then please wait until the when we have that.
Sure. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Medina.
Okay, and now we have Miss Rosie Walker.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Ms. Rosie Walker, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Planning Commission. Good evening. This is Rosie Walker. Hi, Jackie Romero. I just wanted to piggyback of what she says. She is our current chair, membership chair for the Milpitas High Athletic Booster Club. And I just wanted to comment on Milpitas Charity Bingo and all of the work they've been doing in the community. We run the Athletic Booster Club at Milpitas High School, and we are one of the participants that benefits from Milpitas Charity Bingo. So I just wanted to say that we really appreciate them, and it trickles down to the youth and all of our community members, especially at the high school in these hard times. And we're trying to keep athletics going. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. And thank you, Jackie, for also commenting, because it shows that, you know, we're here all together working to support one for all the greater good for the youth of our community. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Walker. Ms. Medina, any other speakers?
We have no other community members in the queue, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Galong, and I heard Commissioner Ciardella as the second.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to have, I'll go down the roll. So Commissioner Albano.
Aye.
Commissioner Galong.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair also votes aye. So the public forum is closed. Okay, commissioners, any further comments or any other questions? Or any other questions for the assistant planner, or any other questions for the applicant or the architect? Any motions?
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Galong.
Chair, if there's no question, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Galong.
Okay, yeah, well, I would like to thank Mr. Bob Livingood for your time, for helping our community, you know, for this charity bingo. And every time, tell you that every time I saw my patient for the 6 months recall appointment, this is all senior citizens, 70 years old above. And then I asked them what's their activity during the daytime. You know what they always tell me, either bingo or ballroom dancing. So again, I'd like to make a motion, okay, to adopt resolution number 21-004, approving an amendment to conditional use permit number P-UP18-008 to allow the expansion of an existing entertainment use up to 25% of the original floor area, subject to the attached condition of approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Galong and a second from Commissioner Albana. So at this time, I will go down the roll for the vote. So Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Commissioner Galong.
Aye.
Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Vice Chair also votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livengood, and thank you, Mr. Tibbetts, and also thank you, Assistant Planner Kumar. Okay. Next item, handing Chair Tao is back. So Chair, I'm handing the chair back over to you.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and we appreciate your handling of the meeting. And so for the next agenda item, just give me 1 second
Number
here.
E.
Hello? Did I? Okay, for the next public hearing item, the item number 2 on this evening's agenda is the 1000 Gibraltar Drive project, and Director Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the address is 1000 Gibraltar, but as you all know, this is just down the street from Milpitas Bingo, also on South Milpitas Boulevard. And we have our senior planner, Rosalind Thompson, here to present the staff report. This is a site development permit for a number of actions on a very large site. And we have a number of items and things for you to consider. So I'll turn the time over to Rosalind for presentation of the staff report.
Thank you, Ned. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. In this presentation on the 1000 Gibraltar Drive project, I will give a brief overview of the project, followed by the site history, give a summary of staff's analysis, and conclude with staff's recommendation. The environmental consultant and the applicant will have presentations for the Commission after staff's presentation. Next slide. The applicant requests a site development permit to demolish existing on-site buildings, parking lots, and associated improvements and develop a new 491,040 square foot tilt-up concrete distribution center with office space, surface parking lots, and associated site improvements, a tree removal permit to remove 88 protected trees and install 215 replacement trees, and an environmental assessment to review and certify an environmental impact report, or EIR, pursuant to CEQA. Next slide. Here's a project vicinity map. The project site is zoned heavy industrial, or M2. The project site is 29.868 acres, irregularly shaped and developed with 4 main buildings, as well as accessory structures, parking lots, and associated improvements throughout the site. The project site is surrounded by light industrial and commercial uses. The project site is bounded by South Milpitas Boulevard to the east, Gibraltar Drive to the south and west, and by a multi-tenant office building to the north. Next slide, please. As for the site history, 4 existing buildings on the project site previously housed a research and development company called LifeScan Inc. that ceased operations in 2015. LifeScan Inc. acquired the property in 1986 with 2 buildings already constructed, buildings 1 and 2 of the campus, and they were constructed circa 1980. A 144,000 square foot research and development building was constructed in 1990, and a 125,000 square foot office building was constructed in 1996. Subsequent improvements included a building expansion, equipment enclosure, and parking lot. The street frontage and site are landscaped with a large number and variety of ornamental trees. Most of the mature trees surrounding the perimeter of the site will be retained and incorporated into the landscape plans for the new project. Next slide, please. This is a site plan of the proposed project. The new industrial facility would be located in the center of the site. Approximately 486,130 square feet of warehouse and approximately 4,910 square feet of office space is proposed. The proposed building has been designed to accommodate up to 2 separate tenants with proposed uses including advanced manufacturing, e-commerce, light assembly, warehouse distribution, and possibly other uses permitted within the M2 heavy industrial zoning district. 5 driveways ranging in widths from 30 to 50 feet would be provided along South Milpitas Boulevard and Gibraltar Drive. Surface parking lots would surround and or are adjacent to the proposed industrial building. The project includes 346 vehicular parking spaces, including 8 accessible stalls and 101 parking stalls for truck trailers, for a total of 447 parking stalls. Although prospective tenants and the proposed uses are not known at this time, 84 dock high doors are proposed at the east and west elevations of the building for truck access at South Milpitas Boulevard and Gibraltar Drive, respectively. Next slide, please. Here are the north, south, east, and west elevations of the proposed building. The project architecture is reflective of a contemporary architectural style that incorporates various wall planes and massing elements that adds interest to the proposed elevations. The proposed building height ranges from 36 feet to 44 feet. The building includes 2-story lanterns of glass that accentuate the office corners of the facility, creating a play of solid and void in the massing of the 44-foot tall facilities. Clear stories of glazing occur high on the concrete tilt panels between the transparent corners and provide natural light deep into the building footprint. Concrete panel elements are used as accents, and multicolored paint compositions break down the scale of the concrete tilt-up walls. The proposed exterior elevations consist of painted concrete tilt-up panels and blue glazed glass. The exterior of the buildings will be gray with blue accent trim along the parapet, and exterior building materials will include metal awnings painted to match the accent trim. Next slide. For the remainder of this presentation, I will focus on analyzing the project's conformance with the Milpitas General Plan and the Zoning Code, and also the environmental analysis under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. Relevant to this analysis are the applicable designations in the General Plan and the Zoning Code. The General Plan designation for the site is manufacturing, and the zoning designation is M2, or heavy industrial. Next slide, please. In the General Plan, the manufacturing designation encompasses a variety of light and heavy industrial activities, such as manufacturing, packaging, processing, warehousing and distribution, and ancillary support uses. The project is only partially in conformance with the policies and standards in the city's general plan policies as set forth in the next few slides. Next slide, please. The first policy, Land Use 4.2, requires that projects should emphasize efforts to reduce regional vehicle miles traveled by supporting land use patterns and site designs that promote active modes of transportation, including walking, biking, and public transit. The project is inconsistent with this policy because, as analyzed in the environmental impact report, the VMT per employee, 16.19, does not meet the significance criteria of 15% below the Santa Clara countywide average, 14.31. The project VMT per employee exceeds the threshold by 13%. Next slide, please. The second relevant general plan policy, Community Development 11-8, encourages low impact development, including but not limited to bioretention cells, rain gardens, cisterns and rain barrels, green roofs, pervious concrete porous pavement, bioswales, and media filters. Staff has concluded that the project is partially consistent with this policy. The stormwater control plan currently does not indicate that pre-treatment of runoff would occur prior to the infiltration of stormwater runoff from areas of truck parking. As a condition of approval, the city would require that the stormwater control plan includes the required stormwater control and treatment measures. Next slide, please. The next relevant general plan policy, Conservation 1.1, requires that it is ensured that new development is consistent with energy objectives and targets identified by the city's climate action plan. The project is inconsistent with this policy. Environmental analysis concluded that the project would generate greenhouse gas emissions that may have significant effect on the environment. The impact cannot be mitigated to a less than significant level and therefore would be significant and unavoidable. Next slide, please. Policy 7.3 in the conservation element requires projects which generate high levels of air pollutants, such as heavy industrial, manufacturing facilities, and hazardous waste handling operations, to incorporate air quality mitigations in their design to reduce impacts to the greatest extent feasible. The project is inconsistent with this policy because the project would potentially result in cumulatively considerable net increase of a criteria pollutant, nitrous oxide, for which the project region, the San Francisco Bay Area, is in non-attainment under the applicable federal and state ambient air quality standards. The reduction of nitrous oxide through an offset program is not real, verifiable, or enforceable. Therefore, this impact is significant and unavoidable. Next slide, please. As for policy conservation 7-4, projects are required to adhere to the requirements of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. Again, the project is inconsistent with this policy. Even with mitigation, the nitrous oxide emissions from the project operation were above the threshold of significance during the first 2 years of project operation in 2022 and 2023. Therefore, the impacts would remain significant and unavoidable. Slide number 14, or next slide, please. Although tenants of the proposed facility have yet been identified, it is anticipated that the facility would operate as a logistics fulfillment center. In the zoning code, a logistics fulfillment center is considered a distribution facility. In and therefore is permitted in the M2 zoning district. As demonstrated in the table in the next slide, the project is consistent with most of the applicable development standards of the zoning code. To approve the proposed building height of 44 feet, the Planning Commission must find that any such excess height will not be detrimental to the light, air, or privacy of any other structure or use currently existing or anticipated. Next slide. As demonstrated in this table, except for the height, the project is consistent with other applicable development standards of the M2 zoning district, including side and rear yard setbacks, height, and parking. The table below demonstrates, again, the project's compliance with the development standards in the zoning code. Next slide. As for parking, the project proposes a total of 346 vehicular parking spaces and 101 truck trailer parking spaces. Based on a parking ratio of 1 space per 1,500 square feet for warehouse component and 1 space per 350 square feet of office component, the total number of required spaces is 338. Therefore, with 346 proposed parking spaces, the project exceeds the number required by the zoning code. Also, 40% of the parking spaces, or 142 spaces, would be compact spaces, which is allowed under the zoning code. Next slide. Upon review of the application for the proposed project, city staff determined that the project has the potential to result in potentially significant environmental impacts, and therefore an environmental impact report, or EIR, should be prepared. In accordance with the CEQA guidelines, the city prepared a notice of preparation for the draft EIR, as well as an initial study to determine which environmental topics should be analyzed under an environmental impact report. The notice of preparation and initial study were circulated on June 12, 2020 to local, state, and federal agencies and nearby property owners within 1,000 feet of the project for a 32-day review period that ended on July 13, 2020. A scoping session was held on June 25, 2020 to solicit comment on potential topics analyzed under the draft EIR. The draft EIR was prepared and circulated for a 52-day public review period on December 22, 2020. The public review period ended on February 12, 2020. A public comment meeting on the draft EIR was held February 1, 2021. The final EIR, which includes the draft EIR, responses to comments on the draft EIR, and greenhouse gas, air quality, and transportation analyses, is attached to the staff report. Analysis in the final EIR concludes that the project's impact on air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, and transportation is significant and unavoidable. Next slide, please. Here are the findings for the site development permit. The findings have been analyzed in the staff report as well as the resolution, along with conditions of approval. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission open and close the public hearing, adopt resolution number 21-007, certifying an environmental impact report pursuant to CEQA, and adopt resolution number 21-006, approving site development permit, the tree removal permit, and environmental assessment subject to the findings and conditions of approval. That concludes staff's report on the project. I am available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And commissioners, any initial questions to the to staff? Okay, seeing none, and I'll go to the applicant. And on the applicant's team, who will be making the presentation? And approximately how long is your presentation?
To the chair?
Yes.
I would like to suggest that we have the environmental consultant present before the applicant, just to go into detail on the environmental analysis.
Absolutely. Is that from a WRA?
That's correct.
Okay, and so that's fine. And so is the consultant available at this time? Okay, Mr. Riley?
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. If you could help put up that other PowerPoint presentation, please. And thank you, Rosalind, for
that I'll try. There's a couple things on the noticing. They'll try not to duplicate too much. But again, good evening. I'm Jeff Riley. I'm a senior environmental planner with WRA. And WRA is an environmental consulting firm that specializes in the preparation of California Environmental Quality Act documents, or CEQA. And we were hired by the city of Milpitas to prepare the environmental impact report, or as Rosalind explained, for the proposed 1000 Gibraltar Drive project. I'll just give a brief overview of what an EIR is shortly. I'll make this quick, but as a part of the process, we've been working closely with Ms. Thompson and various other city staff in the preparation of this environmental impact report. And with me tonight from my office is Ms. Rita Khan, who helped prepare the EIR, as well as Ellen Pulling from Fair and Piers, our transportation expert, and Ms. Ivy Tao from Baseline Environmental Consulting, who helped prepare the air quality and greenhouse gas emissions assessment. Next slide, please. So some of this was already went over. I'll be brief. This slide outlines the key steps to the CEQA process. And as you know or heard just earlier, a notice of preparation for the draft EIR was circulated to interested parties and agencies to solicit comments on the environmental impact report. The NOP also included a link to what Ms. Thompson explained, to the initial study checklist. And the initial study checklist is a checklist that has over 20 environmental topics, ranging from topics like aesthetics to transportation and wildfire. And what the initial study does, it's Appendix A to the EIR, draft EIR. It helps scope the contents of the draft environmental impact report, which I'll show you shortly. As Ms. Thompson mentioned, we held a scoping meeting too before we prepared the draft EIR. So it was a virtual meeting to allow people to also provide input on the contents of the environmental impact report. And then, so it took several months to prepare that environmental impact report. And then once it was available, we circulated again for a 52-day public review period to interested parties and agencies from December 22nd of last year to February 12th of this year. And then during that public review period, for that draft EIR, we had a public meeting too, a virtual meeting, to allow the public to also raise any concerns or questions or comments about the adequacy of the draft environmental impact report. And then we prepared the final environmental impact report, which of course is one of the key items of tonight's meeting. Next slide, please. So quickly, this is just a simple flow chart of the CEQA process. The NOP stage, the notice of preparations on the lower left. The draft EIR stage is at the middle center, and then we're at the right side here. We just finished the final EIR, and we're at the certification hearing. Next slide, please. So for those that may not know what or appreciate what an environmental impact report is, or be familiar with it, in general, it's a public information document that discloses any significant physical environmental impacts of a given project. And it recommends mitigation measures for significant impacts, and also explores alternatives to the project that would either avoid or reduce the project's significant impacts. Next slide, please. So based on the scoping process that we just explained, the NOP phase, the scoping meeting, and the initial study, we focused the EIR topics to 5 key topics that are in the heart of the draft EIR, if you will: air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, or GHG, noise, and transportation. Now, CEQA also requires that we look at the project in conjunction with other past, present, or reasonably foreseeable projects. And so that's your cumulative impacts analysis in the EIR as well. And we looked at growth-inducing impacts, including but not limited to economic growth created by the project during the construction and operational phase of the project. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, EIR is required to address alternatives that would reduce or avoid any significant impacts of the project while still meeting the basic objectives of the project. And this EIR had 2 key alternatives. The first being alternative A, which would be a no project alternative, where the existing on-site buildings would not be completely demolished and would be reused, retrofitted to accommodate the project. The second alternative, alternative B, it would involves reduction of the square footage of the project by 25%. And so intuitively, 25% reduction in square footage, reduces vehicle trips, which reduces air emissions and GHG emissions. However, that alternative was unable to completely avoid the significant impacts that Ms. Thompson just mentioned for vehicle miles traveled, VMT, greenhouse gas emissions, GHG, and NOx emissions during operation of the project, NOx. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide. So during the 52-day public review period, the city received 10 comment letters on the adequacy of the draft EIR. And also during that public meeting we had on February 1st, we received 5 people got up and spoke and provided comments as well. So these comments focused predominantly on several topics, including but not limited to the merits of the project, wildlife, particularly birds, trees, and air quality, transportation, and GHG. So chapter 2 includes the responses of the final EIR, includes all the responses to those comments that I just mentioned. And chapter 3 includes some revisions to the draft EIR based on those comments, including some input by the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. They submitted a comment letter, as well as the California Air Resources Control Board, CARB. So want to be clear, though, that the final EIR does not describe the project as having any new or substantially more severe impacts than analyzed in the draft EIR. And hence, or therefore, per the CEQA guidelines, recirculation of the draft EIR or any chapter of the draft EIR is not warranted. And also chapter 4 of the final EIR consists of a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, MMRP, which, as you may know, it lists all the required mitigation measures, who implements them, when, and who enforces the implementation to make sure that all the measures are fully implemented. So the next step includes the Planning Commission's consideration of certification of the final environmental impact report before considering project approval. And if the project's approved tonight, we will file what's called a Notice of Determination, NOD, with the county clerk within 5 working days of project approval. And then that'll be shared with the state clearinghouse up in Sacramento. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to help with any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Riley, for your presentation. And before we go to the applicant, commissioners, any questions for both the staff and those of the consultant?
I have a real quick clarification.
Please, Commissioner Alcorn.
So with the environmental impact, I know you said that you part of the environmental study here is comparing it to other projects that are similar. Is that correct?
Well,
part of the research.
Yeah, it's a good point. So one example is traffic, the transportation analysis, where we looked at similar projects and helped actually create a more specific and accurate trip generation rate, if you will. So we did look at other similar projects for this EIR.
So what I'm kind of trying to figure out is does this project create more of an environmental impact than a different project of this size? Or well, because it seems like if we're going to have any buildings like this anywhere, we're going to have this type of environmental impact. So I understand I'm glad that we did the in-depth review to really see kind of what we're working with, but is this about the same or significantly more of an equivalent project? Like, is the way they're doing things different, or is this kind of just normal for projects of this caliber?
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. It all is based on the project use, the characteristics of the project, the size of the project. This is a newer type of project. It is consistent with the city zoning. It does involve vehicle trips, clearly. And, so as intuitively, as you see, the EIR really focuses on transportation. And then the other impact categories that are associated with transportation: air, GHG, and noise. But it's kind of a case by case. I'd have to look at another example project to be able to say if it's would create similar or greater or lesser impacts.
So looking at this project, if please step in and correct me if I'm wrong, but they have a rule on how new the trucks have to be, and so if you can't use older trucks, then you're gonna have more efficient trucks in your daily usage. So let's say if we have a brand new 2017 semi truck that is going to be far more environmentally friendly than one that was made in 1998, that type of thing. And if I recall from looking at the plans, there's a lot of EV hookups and a lot of potential for EV. And so it looks like this project is we're not there yet. The technology isn't there yet for electronic semi trucks. But it looks like this project is actually kind of saying like, hey, when we do get there, we'll be ready. Which are those two things kind of included in this review here?
Yes, thank you. And we do have our experts here, and maybe we'll get into more details about the specifics of the air and traffic later or now if you care to. But you're right, the applicant has agreed and has proposed other measures to be a part of the project description to help self or reduce the project's impacts, but also is agreed, of course, and is required to agree to the mitigation measures. We'd like to point out that during the 52-day public review period, the city and the consultants met with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District to go over recommendations to further reduce emissions. And we did change the model year, as you mentioned, to 2014 to be more proactive and to reduce emissions. So as you may know, one of the 10 comment letters was from the Air District, and the draft EIR mitigation measures for air and GHG were revised largely in part due to that comment letter and or CARB's letter as well. So I guess overall, you're right, that it is evolving. Not all these facilities are available now, but the applicant is being proactive, as are the consultants and BACMed. They really were pushing for things that maybe weren't even in place yet. But so we're trying to find a fine balance with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing I've kind of noticed with this project is a proactive kind of approach to a lot of things. So, well, okay, thank you for the clarification there. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. Other commissioners have questions? Okay, Chair has a couple questions for Mr. Riley. And the first question here is for the project scope. What is the actual scoped use that's under study for this EIR, or the use types?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Ms. Thompson mentioned that earlier. I had written down all the uses in front of me here, but here.
To the chair, if I can assist Mr.
Please.
Riley. So as I mentioned in my presentation, a tenant tenants have not been identified, but the environmental analysis assumes a worst case scenario, which would be a logistics kind of distribution center.
Okay.
And so the analysis is based upon the logistics distribution center use.
Thank you very much for the clarification. And Mr. Riley, circling back to the discussion about it, you were talking about. I assume that in the pickup is that the truck model years is the 2014 or newer are the only trucks allowed on site. Did I hear that correctly?
That's what is included in the mitigation measure for mitigation measure Air 1. Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there an actual physical and a practical way of for any prospective tenant to actually enforce that particular rule if a project is approved?
Yes, at first it started with the applicant too, and there was that the applicant shall do this, and there was concern that, you know, that may be difficult to control the tenant, so it was changed to tenant. I might, if Ivy's available, have her help chime in if possible to further elaborate. Ms. Tao helped me with the GHG and air quality analyses. I don't see her on at the moment.
Jeff, I am here.
Thank you.
Ms. Tao, you're on.
Okay, so so the tenant-owned vehicles all need to meet the mitigation measure R1. However, the third-party vehicles accessing the project site would not be under any vehicle model restrictions simply because it's not very enforceable. So CEQA mitigation measures requires these measures to be enforceable by the city or by the project applicant, and placing restrictions on third parties' vehicles is simply just not feasible from a legal standpoint.
So, Ms. Tao, if I can understand you correctly, so if a trucking company elects to put out a transport goods via a 2010 truck, it is permissible under the guidelines provided within this EIR, right?
So if the trucks are not tenant owned, but from a third party vehicle, say the truck is from a supplier accessing the project site and providing supplies for the project tenant, then yes, this trucks will not be under the model year requirements from the mitigation measure R1.
Okay, just assuming, let's kind of assume based on Ms. Thompson says worst case scenario being a logistics use for the site. How many do you have a projected how many supplier vehicles may be coming on site? You know, read through your appendix G. You know, there's the vehicle trips accounted for. So are we going to base on that number as the possible number of trucks that are you know that the prospective tenant may not have control over?
Yes, so if you look at the traffic impact study or the transportation chapter, there are two types of trips. So ones that are tenant owned and generated from tenant owned trucks and vehicles. And then there's the employee travel trips. And then there's the vans and other passenger vehicles. So vans and passenger vehicles are the third party vehicles that the project does not have control over. And yes, the traffic impact study, I believe, represents kind of the worst case scenario where there would be the tenant would be like a warehouse. So I don't have the exact number here in front of me, but the vehicle trips are represented there.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Tao? Well, thank you, Ms. Tao. I think I may have seen a distant relative of unknown that I do not know, and a nice meeting you virtually on a Zoom meeting.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too.
Thank you. And going to any other questions from the commissioners for Mr. Riley or Ms. Thompson? Okay, seeing none. And from the applicant, Mr. Tasmer and also Mr. Gomez, and which gentleman will be making the presentation this evening? Mr. Tasmer, how are you? And
good, how are you?
I'm doing great. And so can you let the chair know approximately how long is your presentation?
I'm going to try to limit it to 3 minutes, and so I can allow for as many questions as possible from the commissioners. But Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, my name is Timur Tessemer. My company is Overton Moore Properties. We are the applicant of the Milpitas Logistics Center on behalf of Westport Capital. We've been working on this project since early 2019. Really how we got here tonight was that this is a functionally obsolete building. The owners of this asset poured nearly $10 million into this real estate during probably one of the most successful and bull office markets that we've seen in the last 30 years, and they couldn't lease the property. But basically, from our perspective, what's really important for us is to one, be a member of the community, two, listen to the community, three, sustainability, and then four, economic development. And then I can also digress on certain other things. But briefly, we spent a lot of time with staff to get to where we are, where we think we're designing a gorgeous building. I would encourage, hopefully some of the planning commission members have seen our project in Fremont. We're really proud of our buildings. We're really proud of sustainability. We like to say that we are a leader in sustainability. So from the get-go, we offered to have solar on our roof to generate 10% of our power. We offered to double the amount of EV chargers for passenger vehicles because, as most of you probably know, Santa Clara and Alameda County lead the country in EV charger purchases. And then finally, I know this is something that none of my competitors are doing, and again, we're very proud of. We know we are going to expect and we are going to see trucks. It is coming. There are state guidelines encouraging us to go zero carbon on all vehicles. We're pre-wiring 57 position future EV chargers for trucks. And I really believe over the next 3 or 4 years, we'll start to see EV trucks. We're already seeing EV vans, and trucks are really the next area. From an economic development standpoint, and I want to be real brief on this, this project's going to bring hundreds of construction jobs, and we're partnering with labor organizations, and then hundreds of permanent jobs to the city. We don't know who our tenant is. I was very happy that the CEQA consultant took the most conservative approach. I think we're going to get a hybrid of a user, someone who's going to be doing value add in this building, someone's going to be touching product in this building, and then also storing product in this building. So we really try to design this building where we can accommodate all users in the marketplace. Armando, if you wouldn't mind just flipping through this a little quick, because I want to get down to some of our community outreach. You've seen the building, we'll keep on going. This is a building looking north. And again, I really want to point out, we made a tremendous effort to spare, I think we have 97 right-of-way trees. We lost 7 of them, but we've kept the majority of the trees. We're also exceeding, there's a number in there that you saw on the tree replacement. We're actually exceeding that number. I believe the number is 250 trees that we're putting in. And again, that to me, that leads to sustainability. I'm very bullish, and I want to be proactive on sustainability, and so does our client, Westport Capital. If you wouldn't mind going on Mondo, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Casimir, if I may just interrupt you for 1 second. On that particular overhead shot there, the profile of the building is based on 44 feet height, which is designed to. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I can also talk about what we're doing with offsite improvements. But one example of this is that we're gonna paint all the bike lanes, to create greater bike lane safety. Half width to our property, all around the property. Any sort of replacement of asphalt, we're going to take care of that. We're going to upgrade the signalization at Ames Street. Calvers Boulevard widening traffic impact fees, will be paying those as well. So we are doing a lot of offsite work. But from an outreach standpoint, I really want to focus on that, because that's really important to us. It's important to me as an owner of a business, and it's important to me as working with communities. So as Rosalind and Jeff mentioned, we actually had 3 public meetings. We distributed notifications to every neighbor over 1,000 feet from the project. And we also had community meetings as well. I think probably we had 5 or 6 community meetings. So we feel it's very, very important to be a good neighbor, talk to our neighbors and understand what the issues are. And yes, and we did have issues. I think overall we've had tremendous support on this project. And I don't think I need to go into this slide anymore. Let's move to the next slide. If you wouldn't
Mr.
mind.
Chesmer, can I just
Yes,
ask
sir.
you a question while you're at it? On the
Yes.
community meetings that which you've mentioned just now, we appreciate your proactive ways of doing it. And
Thank
just
you.
out of curiosity, was staff involved in any of your outreach meetings to the public?
Well, obviously the 3 public meetings they were, Mr. Chairman, but staff was not involved and typically doesn't get involved when we do community outreach meetings to a lot of the civic organizations.
Thank you.
They would prefer to have those do those on our own. Clearly we've had a lot of support of this project. I think the support has outweighed the the concerns, and I think that's evident by the majority of the letters that have supported the project. But clearly, there have been issues. We've heard the issues of the walking path. We've heard the issues of preserving the trees, and we're protecting that walking path. We're protecting the trees. Again, we offered to put in a park out there for little exercise stations. Again, we thought it's a great idea for the project. It's a great idea for the overall town center business park where there are many businesses, and we thought it would be nice for the residents. And then I also talked about the trees. Other things that we've heard about are, traffic, Milpitas Boulevard, infrastructure improvements, late night trips. This project is surrounded by traffic routes. We will obviously encourage all of our customers to use the traffic routes. The project has 100% on-site parking. Well, I believe we will have a transportation management plan, which is part of the conditions. And then really, as one of the commissioners mentioned, the 2014 vehicles, I just looked it up. The average truck vehicle that's out there, according to the Bureau of Transportation and Logistics, is about 11 years old. So, really 2026, then everything will be 2014 and newer, where there won't be anyone out there at all. And Commissioner, you mentioned, what can we do? We're happy if you would like for the tenant to self-certify and submit annual registrations to the city. I don't want to create more paperwork to the city, but I don't want to get around that issue. I want to make sure our customers with their fleets are using 2014 trucks. So that's something I'm happy to do. Jeffrey mentioned Bay Area Air Quality Management District and CARB. They have additional mitigations there. And we're adhering to those additional mitigations, and they're pretty tough mitigations. And these are mitigations really that the recommendations that they're making based upon what the governor's mandate is in 2035. So I can go into these in further detail. I don't want to spend too much time on the other areas that we've done. We're not asking for any fee credits here. We're going to have good paying salaries and wages to the project. And we think long-term this project will benefit Milpitas. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I just wanted to preserve time.
Thank you, Mr. Tasmer. You can have any presentations from your consultants, Mr. Gomez or anyone else?
Not at this time, sir.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. And commissioners, at this point, do you have any questions for the applicant? Vice Chair, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question with regard to, because it was mentioned about the trucks and, we're doing, 2014. Is there something about 2014, like the trucks? I mean, I realize the later trucks, but why would the 2014, that particular date was selected for, trucks after that time period?
A good question. Actually, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District or California Air Resource Board, that was a comment that they made in response to the EIR. So we relied on the experts on, frankly, on the date of the trucks. That's what they wanted in the mitigation. So we agreed to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then another question with regard to, because given, and I don't know if we're going to perhaps do this later on, but just me and a chair, it could also be with the traffic engineer, but maybe I wanted to hear from the applicant in terms of what is sort of the plan, assuming, like you were talking about, assuming this is the worst case, right? This is a distribution center, right? What in your mind is the plan, like routes, for the traffic, for the, like say, the trucks to go in and out? And then what are the times that, those trucks are planning to go, in and out of, the facility? I mean, the reason I'm asking this particular question is primarily because of, as you know, you're partly on Milpitas Boulevard and Gibraltar. So, no problem with Gibraltar Drive, but with regard to Milpitas Boulevard, that's oftentimes a, heavy traffic area where people are, commuting, either going to, 880 or 680. Or even going 237 there, and then you also have some residents there. So I just wanted to hear from your perspective, what the particular routes and what the plan was. I realize this is a kind of long-winded question, but I actually think this is a pretty important one.
Sure, and I'll try to answer as best as possible, and maybe the traffic consultant could jump in. So there are multiple traffic routes around the property, as you know, Gibraltar, Milpitas, Ames, Montague, Calaveras. So we're surrounded by traffic routes. Thier and Piers put together a traffic study that basically showed traffic distribution, and passenger traffic distribution is different than truck traffic distribution. So as an example, going northbound, and again, I'd like Thier and Piers to look at this because I want to make sure I have the numbers correctly. Autos, 38% of all autos from the project will go northbound. 30% of all trucks will go northbound. As you go down to Milpitas Boulevard, 55% will go to the 680 for the trucks, and 15% will go west to the 88 towards the 880 on the trucks. On the autos, 38% will go towards the 680, 24% will go towards the 880. But again, I really would like Thier and Piers to make sure I have those numbers correctly, because I don't want to mislead you at all. So I think hopefully I answered that question on distribution of vehicles. I think as it relates to just overall traffic in general, as you know, the traffic study really evaluates AM peak and PM peak hours from a traffic standpoint. And then the traffic is really dispersed, throughout the day and sometimes in the evening. We have seen some operating companies where they do have trucks at night. It's hard to really look back. This past year, we've seen some really different traffic patterns because of COVID, and also depending upon the business you have. So we have a company that's in the testing kits for COVID. They've been pretty damn busy. So it really just depends upon that user of what time those trucks are coming and going. And again, I don't know if the traffic consultant can add anything.
Yeah, this is Ellen Poling with Fair and Piers, worked with WRA on the EIR, and I can confirm those numbers. The numbers that Timur cited are in the EIR transportation chapter, and they're really derived from two basic sources. Best information from the applicant on kind of the service area for this potential use, which, as we all have discussed, is not confirmed, but our best estimate of the kind of use it might be. And also the travel demand model that we use for the traffic analysis, which takes into account residences and employment centers all throughout Santa Clara County and beyond, and does its job of trying to figure out where our trips for this industrial type of use, going to be coming to and from. So it was both of those resources. And, we don't have a crystal ball, but we have those two pretty good resources. And from those resources, we developed two different distribution patterns, one for the trucks and one for the employees, which are far and away the larger number of trips to and from the site relative to the heavy trucks.
Thank you, Ms. Poling. And Vice Chair?
That's the questions I have for now. I may come back and ask some additional questions there. I just wanted to get that, kind of higher level, around the traffic and his perspective. So
thank you very much. And Commissioner Ciradella.
Sure. Yes, I've got a couple of comments here. Since you're looking at somebody that had to replace their whole fleet of trucks to take care of the state of California. Anyway, I'm just thinking that, you know, you might want to put some kind of a sign up that says no idling. And, you know, in the summer months when it gets a little warm and the driver's sitting in his truck, you might have a lounge that's air conditioning so he could go cool off instead of running the air conditioning in his truck and using up the emissions. So those are just a couple of comments. I understand I've got a great friend that works for Tesla, and they're building semi trucks in Texas. There was one touring the Fremont plant here just last week. So the electric vehicles are definitely coming. So that's the end of my comments so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ciardella. Commissioner Malone,
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I might say, we do have a mitigation of no idling of trucks as well. And most users, as Commissioner Ciardella would know, would have a truck lounge and also restrooms for the people who are in the trucks.
Thank you.
Great.
Commissioner Malone.
So I had a few questions here, and then the first question, I think Vice Chair touched on a little bit, is about the 24-hour. If it's going to be a distribution center, would you be opposed to setting hours of operation, like in the overnight hours, like not having the trucks, you know, do deliveries or pickups?
Commissioner DeLong, thank you for the question. I think to answer your question, yes, because that puts a burden on potential users if they have some sort of mission critical facility, or if they're delivering to Tesla. And we all know Tesla's a great company, but they could be very demanding. And we've seen other projects that's happened with where you've had that, and it's really created issues on leasing. You know, again, we're surrounded by truck routes that have been there, and the city probably knows this better than I do. I don't know when, Rosalind, do you happen to know when those truck routes were established in the city?
I do not, but we do have our traffic engineer, Steve Chan, available to answer that question if he has an answer.
Mr.
This is
Chan,
Steve
are you
Chan here.
available?
So I could tell you that South Milpitas Boulevard was constructed in 1985, and I believe that's when that industrial use began in that area.
Were the truck routes established in 1985 for both the northbound and southbound?
Generally on that alignment serving that industrial use, going to 680 and 880 via Calaveras and Montague, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner, does that answer your question?
Yes, I have a few more here. I think it was in Ms. Thompson's presentation that it said that the building can be used as two companies. It could be split and there would be two businesses instead of just one. Is that?
That's correct. So it can so up to two tenants can occupy the building.
Okay. And then so that could actually cut down on if it was a distribution business and then the other side being some type of light manufacturing or something. And then you said as far as the solar goes on the roof, it was at 10%. Is there any reason why is that capped? Is that a max 10% or?
A good question again. So this is something that we started to introduce, Commissioner, on other projects. This will actually be the third project we're doing it on. So what we have found, large major corporations, they love it. They like you said, they want to do more than 10% because they have these huge sustainability guidelines, but there are other companies that don't. So what we do is the whole roof is designed to have solar. So if someone wanted to have solar, frankly, they would generate too much power for the building because the building couldn't absorb that much solar for the use. But it is designed for solar. We have the conduits going down to the electrical room. So if someone realistically, I could see maybe 30-40% of that roof being solar. The only time where we've seen 100% solar is where we enter into power purchasing agreements with the utilities, but PG&E is not doing that right now. So we want to give some sort of incentive and encourage our customers to have some amount of solar. That's why we did 10%
So it's
of
like
their power.
So it's like a baseline for your business model.
Yes, because our customers have accepted that so far. I haven't tried to push it further because they're building it because they're getting the benefit of it.
And it sounds like that you're trying to work with the public, and you said that there'd be like a fitness park or something on the site itself that is open to the public. Anybody can use.
Yeah, we'd sit down with Park and Recs, and absolutely anyone can use it, whether it's the residents down the street or the other employees within the business park. And what we're envisioning is like one of those park horses where you have pull up and sit up bars and something so no one can pull it away and take it home, but use it out there. That's our intent. So we'd be delighted to work with Park and Recs and get their input.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's all the questions I had, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Vallon.
Chair.
Yes. Commissioner Gallan, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mr. Tuzimer, good evening. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you
Thanks.
doing tonight?
Good. What's the purpose of this truck? What's the main purpose and use? What type of, you mentioned that they'll deliver some items everywhere. What type of items do you normally do?
Are you asking me like who the customer would be who would lease the
Yes.
space? Or okay. So based on past experience, we have about 3 million feet of space in and around this project right now, and we have high-tech companies. Like some of these companies, I can't mention their name, but one company has something to do with fruit, and they use the space for R&D and distribution. We have other companies like Living Spaces that have leased for retail space and also for their inventory in the building. We have companies that are suppliers of Tesla. We have e-commerce companies. We have food processing companies. We did a very large deal with a company called Tirani Syrup up in San Leandro. So again, we really try to design the building so it can fit all different types of uses. And that's why we put in a lot of additional power early on. We show plans where we can get rid of the doors, the truck doors, and have auto parking for additional parking. So we don't have a customer at this point.
Okay. Okay. So my concern is the weight of the truck, of how heavy the items. Do you have an idea of how?
I'm not an expert in that, but this is not an overweight for all the public streets. There's only a certain amount of gross pounds that a truck can carry.
Mhm.
And I believe that's regulated by the California Highway Patrol. So they can't go over anything like that. Where we see really bulk heavy product is someone who's like an international paper,
Okay.
where they have those huge rolls of paper. I don't envision, these trucks being completely, heavy to the max.
Not some machine or anything, that heavy machine. You don't do that. You don't.
We have not seen those customers in our building. We have seen Tesla suppliers that have side panels, aluminum, whatever those side panels are, or dashboards, but that's usually pretty light product.
So after they deliver the items, they come back to in Milpitas and then park the truck?
It really depends upon the customer, and it depends on whether if they are their own company-owned vehicles, then yes, they would come back and they would park at the project.
So do you own this truck, right? All of the trucks, you own it, right? Or you lease it?
Good question again. I think it's 50-50. I think there are a lot of users that'll go to like Ryder trucks and they'll lease the trucks, and generally those trucks are very new trucks, and they'll do 3-year leases like we do 3-year leases with automobiles, or other owners will own their own fleet.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you're giving employment to the Milpitas resident. Is it true? Giving employment to, yeah.
Yeah, we are happy to encourage our customers to, do job fairs for Milpitas Milpitas residents. We know some of the labor unions that we're working with, that they have Milpitas residents that will be working on this project.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Galan. Chair has a couple of questions for Ms. Poling from the traffic consultant. So kind of doing a little bit the dive into the EIR document there, on page 38, 39 of the 309-page document. We're kind of looking at well, Ms. Poling, why don't I go, hold on my question for a second. I believe Commissioner Alcorn had his hands raised prior to my time. So Commissioner Alcorn, my apologies.
No worries. You saw that. See, this is what I mean. You always choose me last.
You're not a forgotten child. Don't worry.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay, anyways, well, back on track here. So we're on the topic of trucks here. I really like that idea that you had about the yearly, I think it was a registration, kind of certifying that the trucks are 2014 and newer. I really like that idea. If this project moves forward, I would love to see that implemented there. Accountability is always good, and I know it leaves more work for some people in the city and such, but accountability is always good there. So when it comes to the trucking, the trucks pretty much stay on the truck paths, and that were originated, I think, 1995. That's irrelevant right now. But all the trucking is mandated to stay on certain truck paths. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so let's give an example of if it's not a semi truck, if it's kind of more those larger cargo vans, are they? So those like the Amazon trucks, kind of that style. I think everyone knows those are much lighter and can easily go onto regular surface streets. But would those still be regulated to the trucking paths?
No, I don't believe so, Commissioner, because right now, I'm sure I had an Amazon van at my house today, and I live on a residential street. So I think they're allowed to go off truck routes, and I'm sure the transportation engineer of the city could comment on that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. A lot of companies, though, and it's not just Amazon, are kind of moving over towards that truck route. So when it comes to the hours of operation, this is just a comment. This isn't really a question, just for the other commissioners to consider here. I don't know how many of you have driven on Montague Expressway in that area at around 2 to 3 in the morning. There's always at least 1 or 2 semi trucks on there at 2 or 3 in the morning. And so I completely understand the concerns there. But I feel like if we were to impose hours of operations on this company, they would be singled out and kind of treated not as fairly as all of the other companies in the surrounding area that use that truck route. Just because a lot of companies around there, they do overnight trucking, but it's like 1 or 2, I've never seen more than 2 at one time while driving on that route. That wasn't really a question. That was just a comment, to consider. But I've actually toured a while back. This was a while back now, but I toured one of their projects in Fremont, and I have to say that the tenants there that were there and the construction work was very well mitigated, and they did have actual. He mentioned that there was mitigation for no idling, and there's some trucker kind of lounge areas for like the bathroom and stuff. And I did see evidence of that in Fremont. So I just also wanted to point it out that that wasn't just kind of hot air being said. I did see evidence of that in Fremont, and I've done a good amount of research into their particular tenants and their projects, and so I'm feeling pretty good about the truck routes that are there, and if you pair that with the fact that the trucks would be 2014 and over, and to our chair's point, you know, he brought up enforcement of the trucks, and I think that's extremely important because, you know, we can talk about, you know, how new the trucks are until the sun comes up tomorrow, but, you know, the tenant at the end of the day is the one in operation. And I think the applicant here presented a very good solution to that problem that kind of fixes it. Is they have to register and show that the trucks that they're using are 2014 and up. If this moves forward, I would definitely see to that as a condition of approval that tenants are required to do that there. And frankly, I think that should be across the board for all new applicants here. But I just wanted to make sure that the main trucks that you guys were using are mandated to stick to the trucking paths that the other truckers are already using, and this won't get any sort of special treatment where they can go off trucking paths and all that. I just wanted to make sure that they were kind of mandated to stick on those, and I'm talking the semi trucks. And so you did answer that already, but thanks for letting me kind of air out my comments here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn. Make sure you got all the time you need.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So Commissioner Albana, allow Chair to ask a couple questions, and we'll circle back to you. Ms. Poling, so circling back to the EIR, the Appendix G, this is on the, I'm doing a little bit of dive into the documents here. It's on page 38, 39, you know, the tables on those two pages. So basically looking at it, the sort of the proposed possible trips based on the worst case scenario that we're sort of designating this for. About, you know, let me ask you the first question here is AM and PM peak hours. Can you define what are the AM, PM peak hours that the tables are referencing here? Please unmute.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. You're speaking to the trip generation tables in the Appendix G report, is that right?
Yeah, it took a little while to find it.
Yeah. They're also included in the actual EIR chapter, although they're more pertinent to the local traffic analysis. So let me just page up to where those are. Why am I having trouble here? Yeah, so trip generation estimate, table 10. So the AM and PM commute peak hours are defined as the prevailing top volume hours, traffic volume hours in whatever area you're doing your study in. So that's going to vary a little bit depending on what area you're in. Typically, it's about somewhere between 7:30 to 8:30, sometimes 8 to 9 in the morning, and similarly in the afternoon, typically 4:30 to 5:30, sometimes 4 to 5, sometimes 5 to 6. But what we do with our analysis is we take whatever the actual peak hours are when we take our counts of a 2 or 3 hour period during those morning and afternoon periods.
So for the worst case scenario tendency that we're considering here, what, based on that assumption, what is the project's AM, PM, or late night peak hours? Would you say it could can be?
I can look that up. I don't have it handy, but what we also do to be sure that we're conservative is we typically take the project's peak trip generation as it's calculated, and in this case, we actually took counts of a similar facility in Newark, and based the trip generation for this project on those counts and factored it based on the size of this project. And then we said, okay, those 2 peak hours from that site in the morning and the afternoon, we will overlay them on top of the peak traffic hours in the Milpitas project study area. So it's a little bit conservative because there's not necessarily a complete overlap of those 2 hours.
Understand. So Ms. Pauling, what I'm looking at here is, the sort of the big traffic hours, the standard traffic hours that we're looking at for the tables, about 6% of the traffic from this, from a heavy trucks standpoint, is generated, via those big traffic hours. And so you have about 94% of that kind of, goes into the other hours of the day. And so if we divide all the hours, into it, we're probably looking at about 40 plus trips, on a per hour basis, that's generated. If we just take it, 20 divided by 5 or something like that. So you kind of just do some general modeling there. If the hours are generating in the late night hours, just say between 12 o'clock midnight to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, have you guys accounted for, has the consultant accounted for that?
I'll try a 2-part answer here. You're correct that looking at that local traffic analysis, the heavy trucks generated by the site use that we assumed in this analysis are largely outside the commute peak hours. And as you might imagine, that's for probably a lot of good reasons. Trucks don't like to be jammed in, congestion in the commute times getting to and from their sites, but there also may be logistical reasons for the actual site use and site operations. But so heavy trucks, most of the peak hour traffic generated by this site during commute hours is generated by employees coming in to and from the site, and some of that van use, not so much the heavy trucks. Those heavy trucks are happening at other times of day. They also overall constitute a fairly small proportion of the total traffic generated by the site over a 24-hour period, but they're big, heavy trucks. So, they have an outsized impact in terms of congestion and other impacts, but they are largely happening outside the commute peak hours.
So given the worst case scenario that which we're kind of modeling this application for, when would you expect that the hours, the heaviest concentration of hours that these heavy trucks will be rumbling through?
Based on the comparable counts that we took up in Newark, they're fairly distributed. We didn't see large peaks of heavy trucks at any time during the day. There were, as one of the commissioners recently mentioned, heavy trucks coming in the middle of the night, to and from the site, but not like a big surge, not the way you might fear, that there are surges. There's some overnight trucks, there are trucks throughout the day, but not the kind of peaks that you would see with commute type traffic.
So maybe a sort of question to both you and Mr. Chan. The concern here is, I'm not terribly concerned about the passenger vehicles or vans. These are sort of the vehicles that, as they travel, yes, they do have a noise generation aspect of it. But the heavy trucks, there's the noise as well as the vibration. Both in the reports itself, indicated those are sort of unmitigated items on their impact. And so let me circle back here. The truck routes were designed, back in the days before the current industrial models are in place. So, most of we do have some trucks in the middle of the night, absolutely, no question about it. But however, we don't have the sort of, based on logistics, as a worst case scenario consideration, we don't have the concentration of and the usage factors that the logistics may present, the fulfillment center may present to a project. Both sides on Calaveras, as well as on Montague, we do have good amount of bedroom windows, facing onto it, and it's a noise and vibration issues that you know, I don't have a problems with it, but however, you know, the folks who bought into these units certainly, you know, was not one of the overriding considerations, you know, when they purchased a unit that, you know, that faces onto the routes. You know, I think most of the homeowners who buy units are not sophisticated enough to come to the city and ask for what are your truck routes. You know, so that's a consideration, and is that something that you and or the applicant, you know, have considered, you know, the impact, you know, thereof. You know, I'm not trying to be difficult about sort of limiting, you know, the ability for the ownership or you know, OMP and their brokers to lease a project, but also at the same time, you know, I think one of the jobs of the Planning Commission is to be mindful of the projects that will just come before us, you know, how that relates to our residents, you know, in the city, not only on greenhouse gases, but also, you know, our auditory systems and, you know, our nerves. And that's a major concern of mine. And, you know, is there a way for us to, you know, whether it's the applicant or Ms. Pauling or someone else in your team that may be able to address this item?
You know, I do have just one other thing to turn back to, and then I'll let the applicant maybe chime in as well. You know, we were talking a little while back about the distribution for trucks, and we used both the travel demand model, and we also used the best estimate of where the heavy trucks might be coming and going from for this particular site, if it were a fulfillment center or some kind of distribution center. And 55% is what we came up with coming to and from 680 South. And I believe that route on Montague doesn't have the kind of apartment facing uses as much as if more were coming from 237 and 880, which would be to the west on Montague. So that's one thing to think about. You know, again, we don't have a crystal ball. This is our best estimate of the distribution, and we think it's going to be weighted to 680 South as opposed to the west and the north.
And Calaveras is also a truck route as well. Right.
And some trucks will certainly use 880 and 680 from the north coming to Calaveras and then coming down to the site.
Correct. In the latest general plan update, I think the town center route, that part of it is designated, you know, as for vertical mixed use projects. So, you know, it's affecting today and tomorrow. Okay, so I'm not going to belabor on the point, you know, beyond we have talked about it. And so heavy trucks, do you have a, you know, it's a term used, do you have a defined weight or sort of profile that which constitutes a heavy truck?
Well, in terms of the FHWA definition, there are classifications from 1 to 13, I think. Typically either 5 to 13 or 6 to 13. I always have to look it up, are what we call heavy trucks. But the applicant and the city may have more specifics on what would be a heavy truck coming to this site. But I think 3 axles or more essentially is what we're talking about. So it's quite a wide array.
And if I may just on the same subject, go to Mr. Steve Chan, traffic engineer. So Mr. Chan, in terms of a roadway pavement lifts, you know, for the truck routes that are designated, you know, to and from the subject site, and also, you know, compare that to the west side of the freeway, are there any depth differences and also the lift strength differences in terms of handling the, you know, just say 750 heavy trucks, you know, beyond the other vehicles?
So roadway system is typically designed to a traffic index. The higher the traffic index, the heavier load it could sustain. So on specifically case in point, South Milpitas Boulevard, it's an arterial, so it has a much higher traffic index than than residential street. So they are designed to handle truck traffic during its design life. And we typically do a 20-year design life for roadway for city street. For your reference, I mentioned this street was constructed, South Milpitas Boulevard, constructed in 1985, and we constructed it in early 2010. So that definitely met the design life of the roadway. So for your reference, that we do design roadway to handle truck traffic if that is a truck route.
Okay, how about Gibraltar?
Gibraltar, yes, again, that's a truck route. That's due for a rehab since it is in its end of its useful life.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chan, for the clarifications. Ms. Albana, Commissioner Albana, you have a question. And thank you, Ms. Poling and Mr. Tasman.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know who to address this to, but I just had to have a few comments too, and also maybe as I comment, maybe I would ask a question. I was more like wanting to comment on like a street safety policy that the applicant or the city has considered, because when trucks come in and out, delivering or, going in and out, sometimes the driver could be in a rush. So I'm more after like, how do we support the safety of our pedestrians? Because there are people now who are going out to walk, going biking. And also another comment would be, how would it also benefit the neighborhood, the residential, where they could walk, they could bike? Although I already saw the presentation of Ms. Thompson. So basically, how do we have this, street safety policy where, because trucks will be going in and out, very busy. But that's a very nice place of Milpitas Boulevard where they kind of walk and bike. So I was just wanting to ask. Anybody can help me out.
I'm happy to jump in if the city doesn't want to. So I'll start. So I agree with you. Street safety policies are very important, and that's one thing that we noticed early on, that those bike paths are bleached out, can't really see them. So we offered to paint the bike paths all around our project. The other thing is, I think I mentioned earlier on that we're keeping all those existing meandering sidewalks because you're right, people use them, whether they're employees that are within the town business park or residents. So, from our perspective, we're not doing anything to those. We're also encouraging the vehicle ingress and egress really at Ames and at Milpitas Boulevard, where there's a signalized intersection there. And we are upgrading that signal as well.
Thank you, Mr. Desemer. So is there a route that it goes around and in, so in a one-way direction?
Are you talking about the within the building or the pedestrian path?
Within the building for the trucks to come in and around?
So there is not complete drive around for the project because we like to isolate automobile parking and truck parking. We don't like to mix them up. And that's why we did it that way.
I see. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. That's all, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Albana. And I think Commissioner Belong with hands up first.
Yes.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Did you say Galong or Belong?
Belong.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. And this actually pertains to Commissioner Galong's one of his questions about how you said whoever the tenant is, you would encourage job fairs and things of that nature. What about the building of the project? Will you be using local hire or anything like that?
Commissioner, we've entered into some MOUs and PLAs with various unions, so I'm happy to talk to those officials. And I've done this in other projects in other cities that we want to see Milpitas residents within their unions first to get those jobs. So I'm happy to make those inquiries and but again, self-report back to you. So I've done it before, but it's hard for me to. I can't force them to do that. It's not. Frankly, it's not in my agreement.
The reason being is because within the location of where the building is proposed, I mean, within a mile, you have several general contractors, subcontractors, and that could cut down on traffic in the area as well. So that's the reason why I brought that up. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Commissioner Belong, Vice Chair Chuan, and then we'll go to Commissioner Galong.
Thank you, Chair. One thing I also just wanted to ask, and I'm not sure if, just with regard to the noise, and maybe this might be something for staff. I realize that, it is in the packet, but I just wanted to maybe get perspective from the applicant and any other, anyone else on the panel there that, can address, some of the concerns around the noise and the noise level and how things are going to be mitigated, because that was one of the items that was, discussed in the presentation.
To the chair, may I help address that?
Please, Mr. Riley.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair. So the environmental impact report concluded that all impacts related to noise would be less than significant. CEQA requires that you address all aspects of a project. So for construction, the emissions were found, the noise levels were found to be less than significant. However, we included best management practices to further ensure that they would be below the city standards for the general plan and the municipal code. With the exception of the frontage on South Milpitas, in using the traffic impacts, the traffic transportation report, the noise analysis determined that the increase in decibels from the operational phase would reach as high as 1 decibel increase, but no higher than 1 decibel. And the threshold was 3 decibels. 3 decibels is generally the amount of level that is perceptible, if you will. Now, the couple more points, if I could, there were questions by other commenters and letters about on-site noise as well, HVAC, and the conclusions there were that those were less than significant also, and that the nearest, so what we're looking at with respect to noise and vibration are sensitive receptors, particularly residential uses. And for the HVAC, for example, the closest sensitive receptor was about 575 feet, as I recall, and it resulted in the decibel increase was insignificant, if you will. There were some concerns also raised about cumulative noise from the project in relationship to operations at Union Pacific, for example, Railroad, excuse me. And so, as I mentioned earlier, EIR is required to look at cumulative impacts. Union Pacific technically is exempt from CEQA, but the project has no relationship to Union Pacific. And the conclusions were that the project would not result in what we call a cumulatively considerable contribution to significant cumulative noise impacts. There were a couple others. Those are the main issues with noise. Again, less than significant. If I may use this opportunity to address some of the vibration questions too, I checked with our noise and vibration consultant about wear and tear, if you will, on roadways. And his response was that, based on Caltrans, traffic, including heavy trucks, rarely generate, as he put it, vibration amplitudes that are high enough to cause structural damage or cosmetic damage. And typically it's a result of a truck going over a pothole that exacerbates it, and that the vibration, the perceived vibration is often because of the sound of the trucks itself. And so there wasn't, their professional opinion was that it would not result in significant impacts to the integrity of the roadway, particularly for haul routes that are up to, improvements like South Milpitas Boulevard. That helps some of your questions about noise.
That did help some of the questions. But just, maybe just one, because I realize that, there's, a lot of different folks, watching out there, because we're talking about less than significant in terms of, decibels. Can you also equate, just so, folks that maybe didn't get a chance to go and read that, the draft EIR, what do less than significant means, and if you can equate it to just the decibels, and then the noise, what most people would realize what the noise level would be. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Sure, thank you. So for CEQA and environmental impact reports, we use benchmarks or thresholds of significance to determine if an impact is significant. And some, like traffic, are quantifiable, and air quality, and including noise. Other, like aesthetics, are a little bit more qualitative. So pages 14 and 15 of the draft environmental impact report list those thresholds, and they're largely, or in part, based on, general plan or municipal code requirements. And they include, well, so as many of you may know, for residential uses, again, a sensitive receptor, it's 60 decibels exposure outside a residential property. And the EIR found that the project traffic, the operational phase of the project, even in the construction phase, would not exceed that 60 decibel threshold. Another one was if construction would last over a year and result in a 5 decibel increase, which is not the case. I did mention the 3 decibel threshold as well. That would be a permanent noise increase by the project if it would meet or exceed 3 decibels. And the project, based on the traffic analysis and the trip distribution and generation of the traffic report, was found that it would only get up to about, with the exception of the frontage, whereas the site surroundings are not as sensitive, do not have residential uses immediately surrounding the site. So again, we did not trigger that 3 decibel a threshold. And so you asked about less than significant. The impacts range from under CEQA, a no impact, it's just clearly not an issue. A less than significant impact, meaning it might be adverse, but it doesn't exceed the threshold of significance. And then less than significant with mitigation, where what's a good example? Where you add mitigation and you get it below the threshold. And then lastly, we talked about unavoidable impacts related to vehicle miles traveled, GHG, and NOx emissions, air quality. And those, even with mitigation and even with the recommendations from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, we couldn't get it below those thresholds, and those impacts remain significant and unavoidable.
Okay, and then in terms of just going back to you're talking about the 60 decibel limit, and just so folks out there can hear it as well. At least what I'm seeing, the 60 decibel level, that equates to heavy traffic at 300 feet. Is that your?
I want to be careful of that. I mean, there are a lot of issues that relate to noise in terms of distance. There's an attenuation based on distance, if you will, roughly 6 decibels per 50 feet, I believe. If you have intervening structures, which in this area you do, that attenuates the noise as well. So there's not, unless you have a clear line of sight, you've got to be careful on assuming X amount of decibels per distance.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to, get, you being the subject matter expert here, just so, folks out there understand what 60 decibels is and what it equates to. I'm looking at the, in the, draft report, and then there's a page 5. It kind of goes over that, quiet urban daytime, they had 50 decibels, and that equates to like a dishwasher in the next room. Large business office was somewhere around that range as well too. So I just, so if you're in agreement with, I just wanted folks to hear that out there. Okay, does that make sense? At least what I'm saying here.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
And so Chair will ask you a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and bring in the Milpitas City staff who are in attendance this evening. Mr. Tasmer, so based on the
Yes, sir.
44-foot roof deck height that we're projecting here, what kind of stacking are you envisioned for your warehouse here? I assume that you're a 4-stack kind of situation.
Yes, it could be 5. We have some customers that will lease a building like this and might only stack 3 high.
Okay, and so the possibilities of in terms of use that which we're kind of ranging, it's logistics, fulfillment, advanced manufacturing, and any other quote unquote what is the range of your consideration of potential tenancies?
I think those two are a very wide spectrum, and there are a lot of different users that fit into the advanced manufacturing. So as an example, someone like a Flex who's actually putting product together, that's advanced manufacturing. Someone who is assembling a dashboard for Tesla, that would be advanced manufacturing. Someone who is putting together COVID test kits, that could be advanced manufacturing. The fulfillment and distribution, it could be companies, it could be a corporate headquarters that is distributing food products, office products, could be doing e-commerce. So it's a pretty wide group, and that's why, again, we want to design these buildings with the utmost flexibility.
Okay, and in terms of just based on your projection for this entire facility as designed, how many jobs are you anticipating, in terms of generating?
Well, we have a minimum, I believe Rosalind said 340 parking stalls.
Yeah.
And we could add probably double that amount, because someone who's going to be doing advanced manufacturing, they just won't need, Mr. Chairman, the amount of truck doors, and we would create auto parking stalls there.
So basically, the truck core will be reduced to allow for additional smaller vehicle parking configurations.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and okay, and one of your last question here is, if you were doing manufacturing, what kind of power requirement do you think that the building may need?
That's a really, really good question. So we're putting in a 4,000 amp underground power initially. I think we have a 2,000 amp panel. 5-10 years ago, we'd have a 2,500 amp pole section. I could envision that someone would say, 4,000 is what I need today, but I need 8,000 or 12,000. So we try to design the electrical where we can expand it.
Okay, so the expansion would include from the traditional source of PG&E, as well as the on-site generation and the battery packing, I assume?
Yes, unfortunately, I still don't think we have the technology for the battery for the solar. I sure wish we would get there. But again, that's something I see that's right down the road, along with EV trucks, to make it more efficient.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Mr. Tasmer. Appreciate your comments. And we have a number of Milpitas senior staff members here as well from other departments. So the gentlemen that are here this evening are Alex Andrade, Director of Economic Development, Mr. Bill Todd, Senior Building Official, and Assistant Fire Chief Albert Zamora, and also our City Traffic Engineer, Steve Chan. So I'll go ahead and introduce one.
Yeah.
The first gentleman I'd like to introduce is Director Andrade. And so just to cover any of the economics and the job questions.
Chair, really quick.
Commissioner Alcorn.
I would just like to be mindful of any public comments that are in. We are at 9:30, getting close to 10 p.m. I would just want to be mindful of any residents who are speaking here, that we don't keep them here all night.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. We'd like to, go ahead and answer as many questions that we may have. So hopefully we're able to provide the answers, before the questions come up. And I'd like to limit this section here to probably 20 minutes on the top side so that we're able to move into the open the public hearing. Thank you, Commissioner Alcorn, for the comment. So Director Andrade.
Director, where'd your beard go?
Good evening. Good evening, Chair Tao. Good evening, Chair Tao and Vice Chair Chuan and Planning Commission. My pleasure to be here before you. As you noted, and for the record, my name is Alex Andrade. I'm Director of Economic Development. I believe you're interested in learning thoughts related to economic development. So I'd start by saying that remember that successful cities have a purposeful action to influence the economy in ways that help local workers earn sustainable living. And as a reminder, our economic development strategy, which was approved last year in May of 2020, is the guiding policy document for economic development, workforce development, and real estate work for the next 5 years. Milpitas has recently attracted new warehouse and distribution development projects in some of the city's major employment districts, such as the McCarthy Ranch Industrial Area. These projects are the only type of major commercial development activity Milpitas has seen since the early 2000s, except for some retail and some hotel projects. Warehouse and distribution space is in very high demand across the region, and businesses generally seek space in Milpitas because of the city's stock of large and low-cost space, proximity to households and businesses in Silicon Valley, and of course, convenience to freeway access, which this site definitely has. However, compared to other uses such as office, research and development, and advanced manufacturing, like we were just talking about, warehouse and distribution buildings generally consume large amounts of land. They generate relatively low sales tax revenue, which is an increasingly important consideration for Milpitas as we're confronting declines due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And usually they produce a limited number of jobs relative to the amount of building area occupied. In economic development, we're very focused on putting the city's fiscal health first. It is important to attract a diverse business community that also diversifies the local economy. There are several benefits to the project. As Mr. Tessimer just stated, the project will create many construction jobs and permanent jobs. There will be impact fees and permit fees paid to the city, which is deeply needed, again, given the anticipated financial deficit. Depending on the actual tenant, there may be a modest trickle-down multiplier effect through sales tax from the Santa Clara County pool. And at this point, as we've all discussed, city staff just doesn't know who the tenant is. If the project attracts one large global business that occupies the entire close to 500,000 square feet, there may be impacts if the tenant is an e-commerce platform and delivery business. If the facility is utilized as a distribution center, which is allowed by right, there may be other impacts such as deliveries affecting travel infrastructure, air quality, and shaping the local economy for many years to come. Local roads may be used to a maximum level and thereby creating typical wear and tear, requiring payment of street operations and maintenance costs. The city of Milpitas will not receive sales tax if another e-commerce distribution center like this one if that is the tenant. The point of sale would be outside of Milpitas due to related online sales. The city really needs to think about increasing its business-to-business activity for revenue generation and employment opportunities. And again, for us, it's about ensuring that the city of Milpitas is fiscally healthy for the long term. The project is fine, but some businesses will help the city more than other cities due to their operational impact. So those are just my initial thoughts. I'm happy to answer any questions from the Planning Commission. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Andrade. Commissioners, questions? Okay, seeing none. Director Andrade, a question from Chair. In terms of the applicability and the consistency with the general plan, can you just address that real briefly?
Yeah, the general plan update does include an economic development element, and there are 5 specific elements related to ensuring that we have a stable economy looking forward. Again, it also looks at, like our economic development strategy, looks at ensuring that light industrial and manufacturing uses are prioritized relative to warehouse and distribution centers in land use regulations and infrastructure investments. And we are very much in support of conversions or redevelopment of warehouse and distribution properties to tech, R&D, advanced manufacturing, as we were just discussing. So we're trying to put the city in a position where certainly we're known for warehouse distribution and advanced manufacturing, but we want to be known in the future as a major player in Silicon Valley as it relates to R&D, prototyping, and emerging technologies.
Thank you, Director. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Andrade? Okay, seeing none. Well, Director Andrade, thank you very much for your participation this evening, and we'd like to thank you for your time and like the new clean look. Thank you. Okay, the next gentleman, Mr. Bill Todd, the Senior Building Official, and it'll be followed by Chief Zamora and Mr. Chan from Traffic. So, Mr. Todd? Okay, looks like Mr. Todd is not able to sign in at the moment.
He's here, he's just muted.
Okay.
How's that? That's better.
Mr. Todd, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. So again, Alex is a hard act to follow. My view, I guess, in these matters are a little bit more myopic in terms of, my brood, which is the building safety side of things. And so what we're very interested in is making sure that whatever is built, of course, is built per code and complying with all the life safety requirements. And so I'm looking forward to it. Any large project like this to me is exciting and adds to the flavor of the city. You have a very vast and diverse city already here in Milpitas, and I would like to think that this would add to the fabric of it and have another opportunity for employment, both on the short term and the long term. Short term being the actual construction, and then going forward for residents to find positions there. I was curious about, we have reach codes now in Milpitas, effective January 1, 2020. So anything brought up would, of course, comply with. We have some enhanced EV charging requirements, infrastructure, and I'm assuming, I guess maybe, hopefully correctly, that whoever goes in here, if they do have a distribution type of arrangement, we had a lot of discussion about vehicles and their emissions. So I would think that those vehicles would be taking advantage of the EV charging, and they would be either hybrid or fully electric, which would certainly reduce and have an impact on any kind of environmental issues. So I'm looking forward to this going forward, to tell you the truth. But other than that, enough said by me. I'd be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Commissioners, any questions from our Chief Building Official? Chair, so one question for Mr. Todd. So all the building codes is based on 2019 building codes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate it. And so, Commissioners, one more circle back here. Any questions from Mr. Todd? Seeing none. And Mr. Todd, thank you very much for your participation this evening.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. And Assistant Chief Albert Zamora.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Albert Zamora, Deputy Fire Chief, Fire Marshal. I'll keep my time at a limit because of what's remaining. We're excited to see this building. It has to comply with the 2019 California Fire Code and local amendments. We thought we had a bigger warehouse in McCarthy, but this one surpasses it at almost 500,000. The one that we are currently working with is over there in McCarthy at about 400,000. So bigger is better. And so we look forward to the operator and what may go inside. Again, we want our biggest concern would be fire life safety as it relates to the fire code, fire protection systems, fire alarms, sprinklers, et cetera, et cetera. So we do look forward to working with the developer and whoever the operator may be, because obviously there will be additional tenant improvements that may come forth with the project. That ends my report. I'll be happy to answer any general questions. If there's any specific technical questions, my colleague, Chief Jaime Garcia, our Assistant Fire Marshal, who is intimately involved, can answer those questions accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. And Commissioners, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Chief Zamora, just if this is a distribution use, so that the fire sprinklers potentially may need to go between the racks.
Yes.
On the stacks.
It depends on if they have high rack storage, and high rack storage defined as any combustibles that are 12 feet above finished floor, then they would have to meet the fire protection requirements. For example, they may have to go increase the head type from 165 to 286. If there's an open decking with regards to the rack system, then they may have to require in racks depending on the design, the commodity type, et cetera, et cetera. So it really depends on what is being proposed. And then again, we use the fire code as a template and the metric, if you will, to make sure that they have the are afforded the proper fire protection systems for the commodity and how high they stack.
And our current fire suppression lines provides enough capacity to handle that if it comes to the design elements that which it's possible.
Well, yeah, for us to evaluate, we have to make sure whatever the demands are, that we have the available water resource in terms of fire protection ready and available. So it's up to the fire protection engineer of record to submit those plans and the analysis, and then we'll review it to verify and comply with the requirements. And again, it's basically demand versus availability. So that for sure will have to be maintained and designed accordingly.
Thank you, Chief Zamora. So Commissioners, any questions for Chief Zamora and Assistant Chief Garcia? Commissioner Galan, please.
Yeah, I have a question to Fire Chief Zamora. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if there's an explosion on, let's say, 2 trucks at the same time full of gasoline, how do you address that? How do you stop the fire? Do you have any equipment?
Well, yeah, usually what happens in that case, there would be at least a 911 call, and that would be then sent to dispatch, and then we would respond with our apparatuses based on the incident. It's up to the incident commander to assess the situation and deploy whatever resources are necessary to fight the fire. But hopefully we don't have that. I wouldn't want that to happen. So again, but we are ready and available. So for any incident, medical or otherwise, we will respond accordingly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sir Zamora.
Thank you.
Thank you. And while Chief Zamora is here, let me ask the applicant, Mr. Tasmer, a quick question. So I understand that in another site within Milpitas on the west side of 880, there was some mobile fueling being considered as or being proposed for use. Is that a use that which you will if a project's approved, that will not be a use beyond on this site here?
I'm not really sure I understand the question. Mobile fueling, as in someone would have an above ground gas tank, the service vehicles, and fill gas. Yeah, they'd have to go, in our view, Mr. Commissioner, they'd have to go to the city and the fire department to get those approvals.
Okay, all right. So that's not a quote unquote allowable use based on your interpretation of this site. Okay, thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Guam.
Yes, sir. Mr. Tissimer, I think most of your trucks made 2014, most of them, right? Is that true? 14 up.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just curious, where do you take your trucks for maintenance? Let's say they need some oil change or something, where do you take your trucks for maintenance?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not the customer in the building, so it really just depends. Generally, there are outside services that handle that, and I'm sure there are plenty of outside services in and around Milpitas that they would do that. As an example, Ryder Legis trucks would be an example.
Yeah, because I've seen some, maybe not in Milpitas, somewhere else, that some of the trucks, they park in the street, or they do some maintenance of some minor something like that. Yeah, I'm hoping when that happened at the Milpitas, they should maybe do it somewhere else, right?
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Chief
Chair.
Tomorrow and Assistant Chief Garcia. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
And the last staff that's also here with us is Transportation Engineer, Mr. Steve Chan. And so commissioners, questions for Mr. Chan? Seeing none, and Chair has no further questions for Mr. Chen. And Mr. Chen, if you don't mind, kind of stick around for a few minutes. I think we have a public comments coming up and may have some relationship to transportation and traffic issues. So we appreciate your additional time on this meeting. So there's been a public meeting, and we really appreciate that the general public's holding on through this our hearing process. So so Ms. Medina, do we have members of the public in the queue for the public hearing, please? And if you can let Chair know how many members are in the queue. Ms. Medina?
Sorry about that. We have 20 plus community members in the queue.
Okay, all right. So just so that as a clarification from the chair, the question was raised earlier from in the chair room here from a member of the public asking about seating time. This is not allowed. So because of the number of participants involved in tonight's public hearing, chair is limiting the public comments to 1 minute 30 for each member of the public. So Ms. Medina, if you would queue up the first speaker.
Yes, sir. We are going to start with Mr. Will Smith.
Mr. Smith, the floor is yours. 1 minute 30 is yours as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity, Planning Commission, to speak this evening. I'm definitely speaking in favor of the project. My name is Will Smith, and I'm a business representative for IBEW Local 332. Represent over 3,600 members that work in Santa Clara County, many that live right here in the city of Milpitas. The project is going to be a project that's going to employ local members. It's going to have local hire. It's going to create good jobs, good paying jobs, union jobs that will put people to work on a project right there in Milpitas. Hello?
Mr. Smith, are you still with us? Hello, Mr. Smith? Okay, well, sounds like Mr. Smith is finished. Next, please.
We have Elena Gill.
Miss Gill, Minute 30, the floor is yours.
Hello.
Yes, Ms. Gill, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Elena. I am a Milpitas resident. I respectfully ask to support this project and the benefits that it will be bringing to the city of Milpitas. Jobs and revenue should be a priority for the city right now, and I think that the owner has done a great job of finding a balance between our needs as residents, as well as building a quality project that preserves Milpitas's character. I think that this project will also help improve the look of Milpitas Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gill, for your comments. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Olivia Navarro.
Okay, Ms. Navarro, the floor is yours for minute 30, please. You may want to unmute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Olivia Navarro. I come before the Planning Commission on behalf of Enrique Arguello, business manager for Liuna Laborers Local 270. I believe he also sent a letter in support of this project. Local 270 has a membership close to 7,000 strong. Many of our members live and work in Milpitas. Liuna Laborers Local 270 has a long history of advocating on behalf of working class families. That is why today I come before you this evening to support Overton Moore Properties project on 1000 Gibraltar. I know not only many of our members and their families would benefit from this project, but many of the residents of Milpitas. Liuna and its membership has a positive relationship with Overton, and it is from this experience that we have confidence in supporting the project. As the city of Milpitas recovers from COVID pandemic, we must support projects that will stimulate the economy, increase city revenue, and improve infrastructure of current sites. We must remember that old abandoned buildings can create an eyesore, and the project will bring life back into the area. This project will provide an opportunity to yield jobs for many working class families in Milpitas and the county of Santa Clara during construction, and will continue to create jobs in the completion of the project. I humbly ask you please support the project on Gibraltar so residents can work, live, and thrive in the city of Milpitas. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Navarro. Thank you. And Ms. Medina, next speaker.
Next speaker is Anthony Berry.
Mr. Berry, a minute 30, and the floor is yours. Mr. Berry, you may want to unmute.
Can you hear me
Berry?
now?
There
Yeah.
we go.
We can hear you, please.
Okay, great. I just want to commend Overton Moore on reaching out and being inclusive in the process. And a good job on being professional and working to incorporate many of our suggestions. And you said you wanted to be good neighbors, and you stood by your word. Thank you for including the screening fence along the pathway, maintaining the pathway, the green bikeways, and not having your trucks idle in the truck courts. Please, Milpitas Planning Commission, support their project at 1000 Gibraltar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. And Ms. Medina, next.
Next, we have Bavin Ladd.
Mr. Ladd, the floor is yours, minute 30, please.
Oh, looks like he might have disappeared.
Okay.
So let's move on to Mr. Joshua Scott.
Mr. Scott, the floor is yours, minute 30.
I ask you to support this project and the benefits they will be bringing to Milpitas. Jobs and revenue should be a priority for the city right now. I think the owner has done a great job of finding a balance between the city's needs and building a quality project that preserves Milpitas's character. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. And next speaker, please, Ms. Medina.
We have Mr. Robert Shannon.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, staff members. My name is Rob Shannon. I'm with CBRE. We're a Fortune 500 real estate company, and I've spent 4 decades bringing companies and developers to Milpitas, generating a lot of tax dollars. And I just point out tonight, you're really at that classic Y in the road where cities are tempted to lose really focus on what made them successful in the first place. Tonight, for instance, we're talking about a site that lays right in the heart of our industrial zone. It's been the heartbeat of the commercial industrial ecosystem for over 30 years. We're 200 yards from a rail line on the west side and 150 from the largest business park in Milpitas being Fleming, which I represent. Subsequently, we've had new residential development in the last 10 years. Now, unfortunately, some of our new residents are unhappy with the existing and zoned uses and functions they find objectionable. So this is akin to that really the foundation of the city being eaten from the edges, really caution again, pursuing down that path. What's next? Rail traffic, too much vibration and noise, don't want to go there. So to conclude, we're hearing about notifications weekly from our corporate employers leaving the area. Don't want to send a message now as far as no growth, and strongly encourage you to keep the city competitive, sustainable, and growing by adopting the findings of staff recommendations. Thank you all for your good work tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Erica.
Ms.
Yes.
Erica, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful. I'm calling to voice my support for the 1000 Gibraltar project. I'm a longtime resident of Milpitas, and Milpitas is my home. I'm proud to see such a project in our area, and it'd be nice to see the walk paths and the green bike lanes as a great addition. I currently walk my dog over there, and having that green bike lane would be an addition at that 5 o'clock in the morning, which I'm going to miss tomorrow morning, but that 5 a.m. walk, so cars can see the people walking at night or during the day. But please vote yes. And thank you for bringing such a high quality project to Milpitas. Good night.
Thank you very much, Erica. And the next speaker, please.
Chair, I have, I found Mr. Bavin Ladd. I'm going to allow him to talk.
Okay, Mr. Ladd, floor is yours. Minute 30 is yours as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak today.
Please.
Please vote in favor for the 1000 Gilbert project. This project will bring hundreds of high quality jobs with millions in annual salaries and wages. It's something we desperately need today. We also need the support for our restaurant and hotels that this project will bring. Also, the company will be great using union labor, which is great for our workers, and it helps ensure that the jobs will be done right. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Medina, next, please.
Next is Ramesh Raman.
Mr. Raman, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Commission. I wanted to call out, there have been a lot of interesting comments. I wanted to call out one of the most important things that kind of got left out. I am a resident of the several communities that live almost next door to this proposed project. There are about 1,500 units currently where people are residing, approximately 4,500 residents, and there are 200 more units to come up. In all, we expect a traffic density of about 75,000 people per square mile. And all this is within a small area of 0.06 square miles. This is 15 times higher than the average Milpitas density. We feel that already we have a lot of, and in fact, 200 units, they moved in after the pandemic started. We haven't even stress tested the entry points and exits from this community, right? There are just 2 tiny entry and exit points on South Milpitas and on Montague. The traffic that is proposed here, the noise that is proposed here, that is going to arise out of this, the air pollution, all of them are going to affect together, causing immense trouble to all the residents here. It is not, as Director Andrada said, the vision of the city in terms of building this mixed use around the BART is wonderful. We want to have lots and lots of people here, but you don't do that by putting an industrial manufacturing plant or a warehouse adjacent to it. As Director Andrada said, I think Milpitas should look towards the future to create as a major player in R&D or emerging technologies, as opposed to being a city of warehouses.
Thank you, Mr. Raman. And Ms. Medina, next speaker.
The Ponce.
Well, Mr. and Ms. Ponce, floor is yours. minute 30.
Hi,
Hello.
I'd like to voice my support for the Overton Moore project on Milpitas Boulevard in Gibraltar. I've attended most of every meeting that this company has had on this project. And Overton Moore has kept a lot of the trees along the walkway, which I appreciate. The project has enough parking, so that parking will not spill over on the neighborhood and vehicles will not be idling at the property. Thank you, Milpitas and Overton Moore, for your support. And I'm in favor of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pons. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Cindy Berry.
Ms. Berry, floor is yours, minute 30.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking my call. I just wanted to say that I was in favor of the project at 1000 Gibraltar. I was a former LifeScan employee and I live in Milpitas, and it was hard to see LifeScan close. I worked there for many years and it was a great company. But what was harder was seeing the building sit vacant for so many years. I wish the business was still here, but reality is it's gone. A vacant building that is obsolete in today's market doesn't do Milpitas any good. I would rather much have a new building that fits today's needs that could be leased than an empty eyesore. I would urge you to vote yes on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. And then Ms. Medina, next speaker.
We have Tina Ortiz.
Ms. Ortiz, floor is yours, minute 30.
Good evening. Good evening, and thank you, Commissioner, for giving me this opportunity to speak. Just like the previous person has stated, we have an empty building there. The fact that a company is trying to take it on and make something of it and help bring revenue to the city in a time when I know a lot of people need jobs, it's going to be a great thing for the community and just the city of Milpitas overall. So I would just really hope that the city would consider it, and I'm in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. And Ms. Medina, next.
We have Sierra Nguyen.
Hello, Ms. Nguyen. Floor is yours, minute 30.
Hi. I'd like to voice my support for the Overton Moore project on Milpitas Boulevard in Gibraltar. I look back at all the contact that they've had with us on this project, and we got emails, saw notices, got letters, attended community meetings. I appreciate all this outreach. It's more than anyone has done for me and my family. I'm happy with their traffic plans and the trail and the quality of the building and everything else about this project. It'll be great for this part of town. Please support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. And Ms. Medina, next.
We have Katie.
Oh, Katie, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Hello. Overton Moore has been a great partner in Milpitas. They've been involved in the community and have been there to support our community when it needed help. I believe businesses should be more community minded like they are. So please support their project at 1000 Gibraltar. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Ferdy Centennial.
Sir, the floor is yours. And
Yes,
minute 30.
thank you for having me speak. My name is Ferdy Centeno. I'm a resident of Milpitas, and I'm here today to ask you to support the 1000 Gibraltar project. Overton Moore is the developer of the project. For me, it is important that businesses care about Milpitas and do their part to be community minded, because genuinely, when a company cares about enough to be involved in the community, it means they are going to be a responsible business and care about how they operate. They also care about the neighbors. Overton Moore has been a supporter of many efforts in Milpitas. I think they are a good and responsible company with a good track record of good projects. I ask you that you support the project at 1000 Gibraltar Drive. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Centennial. And Ms. Medina, next, please.
We have Abhishek Agrawal.
Okay. I think it's a gentleman. Sir, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. So I would like to put some points in opposition of the project. Firstly, it's not only about the traffic and the tree concerns, but it's also about the air quality impact. We feel the air quality impact is poorly mitigated. Details are provided in the slide number 14 that we presented. Apart from that, one other point is when we cut down a tree, it doesn't grow up in like days. It takes years, tens or 15s of years. So there are like full-size grown trees, and if we cut them down, it will take significant amount of time to grow them. So that's something to keep in mind. And we also have a lot of public schools, neighbor meadows, and we need to take care of the impact that will have on the schools and the neighborhood. So I stay pretty close to the project, like within 1,000 miles, and I feel it will create a lot of traffic congestion and air quality impact, noise pollution. So I am strongly opposed to the project. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal. And Ms. Medina, the next speaker, please.
We have Nico Katsakis.
Okay, I believe it's Mr. Kasakis.
Yes, that's correct.
And floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for volunteering your time for Milpitas and representing the community on the commission. I know you have a difficult job. Lots going on. I believe this is an easy decision. The project does have so many benefits for the city of Milpitas and the neighborhood. I mean, the bike lanes, the trail improvements, that was a big thing I had at the beginning when I spoke last time. The solar, the chargers, the high quality architecture. I mean, something that's, appealing. I think Timur and his company did a great job talking to my family about the project, and I do think this is a win. So I would, ask you to just please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kasakis. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Vijay Sankar.
Mr. Sankar, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you, Chair. I have some concerns regarding the tree removal part of this project. So I live on Garden Street, which is about a block away from this project site. And we have about 1,500 units with a lot of residents here. And this project site is actually home to a large number of different types of trees. And out of them, 183 of them are protected. And the project is proposing that they will remove 88 out of them. And if you look at the project proposal, page 17, you can see that there are lot more trees that are being removed. We can count them, and we can clearly see that it's not limited to 88. I think the number of protected trees that are being removed are 88, and more than that, they are removing other additional trees. And when the new proposal the project is completely done, you can clearly see that there isn't much green space around the building. And where exactly are they going to plant the new 215 trees that they are proposing here? So that I fail to see that. And this will have a lot of impact on pollution. And we have so many families living close to this, and we'll be exposed to all this pollution. And then there is no mitigation strategy for that, obviously. Nitrous oxide is not something that everybody wants to breathe into their lungs. So yeah, I oppose this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sankar. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Miss Carol Balisi.
Mr. Balisi, the floor is yours. Minute 30.
I ask that you support the 1,000 Gilbardo project. We walk the trail all the time. They've committed to keeping the trail and even improving it. I love that instead of trying to keep the residents from enjoying the area, the developer took our suggestions on making the trail better. I appreciate the effort and how they thought about our commuting. Say yes to the project, please.
Thank you, Ms. Balisi. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Adrian Alvarez.
Ms. Alvarez, the floor is yours. Minute 30.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for your opportunity to speak. My name is Adrian Alvarez, and I wanted to show my support for the 1,000 Gibraltar project. I've been a Milpitas resident for over 25 years, and in that time frame, Milpitas has changed drastically, and we have lost a lot of our commercial properties, which have turned into residential housing. It's great to see a project like this in Milpitas to keep a commercial property. As we know, this will bring jobs and revenues to our city, especially during these tough times. It's great to see this type of development on Milpitas Boulevard, as it upgrades the city and also makes the city look a lot nicer. Thank you, Planning Commission, for your time, and please vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez. And the next speaker, please.
We have Bernadette.
Ms. Bernadette, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Hello. I would like to submit my support for 1000 Gibraltar. It is a great project in a great location. I have lived and worked in Milpitas for 30 years. We don't need any more houses in Milpitas. We need more jobs and businesses to invest here. I want Milpitas to be a great city that has a balance of jobs and housing. Let's move forward with some jobs for once. They would be great to have in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernadette. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Vincent.
Vincent, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Hi, I'm calling to voice my support on this project. We need more business in Milpitas, especially on the side of town. And the last thing Milpitas needs is vacant buildings, because it's looking a little aged, and new buildings and new business will be good. So I'm asking you guys to please vote yes and support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vincent. We appreciate your comments. And next speaker, please.
Next, we have Dominic Toriano.
Mr. Toriano, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you, Planning Commission members. My name is Dominic Toriano. I'm a business agent with the Sheet Metal Workers, Local Union 104. I urge you to accept staff recommendation to certify the EIR report and approve the site development permit for the 1000 Gibraltar development. The developer has demonstrated they are a responsible community partner by engaging in outreach to neighbors and others to make this project a win-win. Additionally, they've agreed to use construction firms that employ local state-approved apprentices and by paying workers on their project a fair wage and benefits. Our 50,000 square foot apprenticeship training center is right on the Milpitas-San Jose border, less than a mile from the project. And we currently have 18 Milpitas residents enrolled in this apprenticeship program.
Have we lost the?
We lost him.
Okay, I think he's speaking in support of the project from the sound of it. And can we have the next speaker, please?
The next one is Krishnan Prakash.
So Mr. or Ms. Prakash, the floor is yours. Minute 30.
Thanks for the opportunity. I would like to request the committee to oppose the project. I have multiple concerns, and I did hear the mitigation plan, both from the developer and various specialists, but none of the mitigation plan is actually addressing the problem to the core. For example, this is a biking area, the pedestrian walking area, and improving the trail doesn't improve the pedestrian safety by itself when the number of trucks in the area is increased. There is also going to be air pollution and industrial grade pollution when a center like this is opened. And having trees planted is not going to subsequently solve any of these pollution holistically, and it's going to create health issues for the residents who live close by to this community. There is also going to be impact to the kids going to the school who are not nearby to this area, but are commuting to this area to attend the local schools. So I would like to request to oppose this project.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash. And the next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Jennifer Gallego.
Ms. Gallego, floor is yours, minute 30.
Hi, yes, my name is Jennifer Gallego, and I'm asking you to support this project. I was honestly quite shocked that this process takes so long. I first met Overton Moore almost a year ago, and I was told that this project was coming soon. Overall, it's a good project, and it cleans up an empty work site. Time and delays have always been part of the reason why we can't get good businesses here. Overall, more jobs, more revenue, and a new building, and more union construction jobs. I am in support of this project, and I hope that you would consider supporting this project as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Gallego. And the next speaker, please, Ms. Medina.
The next speaker is Akanksha P.
Okay, before the speaker comes on, how many more speakers do we have?
After Miss Akanksha, we have 17.
We're 17, okay.
18.
18, okay, thank you, Ms. Akanksha. Floor is yours, minute 30.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. My humble request to the board is not to consider this project since there are a lot of unknowns, mainly due to the negative air quality impacts that the commission has already deemed significant and unavoidable. I ask the board to consider this avoidable as it directly affects us residents, thousands of whom live a stone's throw away from the proposed site. In addition to that, we don't know what kind of tenants will be housed over there, whether it will be their own or leased trucks. So the estimated noise levels might not be accurate. I also implore the board to consider how such a small road such as South Milpitas Boulevard, which is a 2-lane road, can deal with this level of congestion. You have already spoken about how residents walking on the beautiful street might be impacted. Please consider how it might be to walk around with recurring noises coming from heavy vehicles all the time. And the noise levels might be insignificant within residences, but they will definitely be higher as you walk outside. Again, with no tenants, we cannot estimate what level of noise might be generated. On top of that, the air quality would be adversely impacted anyone who lives in this area, and the livability of families, kids and elders that use the pathways for walks or jogs would be impacted. We definitely need to bring in more revenue into the city, but not at the cost of the experience of current residents and by driving them away from the city. Please vote no for this proposal. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you very much for your comment. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
Yes, we have Serenity Campos.
Mr. Campos, floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm a Milpitas resident and would like to ask you to please vote to support the project on Gibraltar Drive. We need more businesses to locate to Milpitas. Our restaurants, hotels, and shopping centers need the support. Much attention has been given to the west side of Milpitas along McCarthy Boulevard, but we need redevelopment and investment along Milpitas Boulevard as well. I would love to see this project happen. It's a great opportunity to increase our tax base and provide jobs in this area. Please drive around Milpitas Boulevard. There's a lot of vacancy around here. This is an opportunity that I don't want us to pass up. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and please vote yes.
Thank you, Ms. Campos. And next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Pavan D.
Sir, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity. I would like to strongly oppose the project. The main reason being the committee has addressed some issues, but has sort of ignored the unavoidable and significant greenhouse emissions and the NOx emissions. And I'm a resident, and I stay within 1,000 feet of the proposed property, and the pollution and the harmful effects from that and the air quality will be borne by us, the residents who stay closer to the property. I do understand the benefits that it brings, but then the issues that the residents are going to face with respect to the traffic, the ingress and egress routes on South Milpitas Boulevard, and the heavy trucks and the noise. I think all of this contributes significantly to the and make it more detrimental to the residents who live nearby. And I urge the commissioners to strongly consider these options while deciding on the proposal. And I definitely urge them to vote no on this, so that the health and the air quality index of the residents who stay nearby is protected and the residents feel safe where they're staying right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Profondi. And next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Miramoy Gosh.
Sir or ma'am, the floor is
Hello,
yours.
sir. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I speak on behalf of the 4,500 residents who live within 1,000 feet of this proposed construction site. So I speak to strongly oppose this construction on Milpitas Boulevard. This area is really very beautiful with a lot of very grown trees, and when this construction site will happen, a lot of those trees will be replanted, but the replanting may take a long time to grow back. As one of your staff pointed out, the pollution problems coming from this project are significant and unavoidable, and the residents of the communities will bear the brunt of all the pollution problems that are coming from this project. Also, I would like you to note that Stratford School is within 1,500 or 2,000 feet from this project, and Mabel Matos Elementary School is within 0.5 miles of this project, and the children attending those schools will also be affected by the pollution and the noise and the congestion from this project. Other points raised by the other residents are that the South Milpitas Boulevard is a very two-lane highway, and is one of the primary entries to our community. The addition of hundreds of trucks to this area will increase the congestion.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. We appreciate your comments, and we understand you're not speaking in support of the project. We appreciate your comment. And Ms. Medina, next.
We have Art.
Mr. Art, floor is yours, minute 30.
Yes, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, hello. My name is Art Curiel. I'm a longtime resident of Milpitas, and I strongly support the 1,000 Gibraltar project. I think the noise pollution counter argument against this project is irrelevant. As a longtime resident, we have learned to live with the train that passes throughout the city daily. So I think that argument is irrelevant. I like the project and what it brings to Milpitas, such as jobs and revenue. And, it helps to get rid of an empty building and put the land to good use. Overall, I think it'll help improve the look of Milpitas Boulevard. And thank you, Planning Commission members. And please vote yes on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Art, for your comment. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
Marcus Rangel.
Sir, the floor is yours, minute 30. Sir, are you, if you want to unmute?
Hello?
You're loud and clear. Please.
Oh, there we go. All right, perfect. All right, so I just wanted to express my support for the project at 1,000 Gibraltar. I was watching the company's presentation at the Chamber of Commerce Forum, and I don't like the fact that I have to commute right now, so I'm trying to really reduce that. So I'm for the whole, I'm for the project. It's something a lot closer to where I live, plus the added revenue in Milpitas could definitely help out. The pandemic and everything definitely didn't help. People losing their jobs. So that's basically it. Yeah, so I support it.
Thank you, Mr. Rangel. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have Carmina Estores.
Ms. Estores, floor is yours, minute 30.
Yeah, hi. At first I was a little worried when I heard about the project. I thought, oh no, no more houses. I was curious, so I called Mr. Gomez, and he sent me the plans for the project, and he offered to meet with me. He took my concerns down, and then we talked again later about their commitments to keeping the trail, improving bike lanes around the development. They also said that they would not ask for any subsidy and would pay for all their fees. And I recently heard that they are using union labor. I like this, and I want to thank them. Please vote to support this project. Would also like to add that I am a resident to the South. I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Estores. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Henry.
Mr. Henry, the floor is yours, minute 30. Henry? Henry, are you with us? Unmute. You have minute 30.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to strongly oppose this project. Our property is at Mary Loop on the corner of South Milpitas Boulevard and the Montague Expressway. There are 4,500 residents living in the community, but we only have 2 ingress and egress points using for all 4,500 residents. One at South Milpitas Boulevard, another at Montague Expressway. So this distribution center will hold 100+ oversized trucks. 50% of the truck will go to Montague Expressway where South Milpitas Boulevard. We are very concerned on the traffic it will cause. And also I'd like to point another point. The local transportation analysis report was done on October 2020. I assume it takes half a year to prepare the report, which on that time, there's a good opportunity from pandemic for underestimate the traffic impact. And also one point, I want to repeat one point raised by one of the commissioner. The tenant-owned truck can be new truck, but who can control the vendor's truck who come in, deliver and pick up from a distribution center? Who can control that? They could be out of state. They could be from any other company.
Okay, Henry, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your comment. And as a general reminder from the chair, we understand there are some speakers who are circling back who have previously commented. There's only one comment per agenda item. So if you are signing back in, we strongly encourage you to to exit as the rules is a one comment per speaker. Thank you very much. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Mohit Gidwani.
Mr. Ekwani, floor is yours, minute 30.
I would like to thank the members of the commission tonight. I'm joining my community of 4,500 immediate neighbors in direct opposition for this project on the agenda. While we in the community remain in support of both short and long-term economic activity, our specific objection is the project's immediate proximity to a densely populated residential area, not the project itself. The city tonight has identified varying findings with, quote, significant and unavoidable, end quote, impacts broadly ranging from environmental, traffic, noise, and overall air quality. Unfortunately, we find the proposed mitigation in the subsequent reports did not sufficiently provide adequate relief to the community, as demonstrated by the number of objections presented here today. Further, a reference was made a few times to another city's project. It was not stated tonight, however, whether that city's project actual performance was in accordance to the plan presented prior to its authorization. The community would increase its confidence in the proposal if evidence that a similar plan was executed and operational per its expectations, as a similar project was utilized as precedent as part of the application here today. Please vote no. I yield the rest of my time, and thank you all for your good work tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gawani. And the next speaker, please, Ms. Medina.
It's Ernestine LaPlante.
Okay, Ms. LaPlante.
Hi, LaPlante. I really like this project and what it will do for Milpitas, in particular, the vibe it will bring to Milpitas Boulevard. I'm not sure how familiar many of you are with our areas, but if you drive down Milpitas Boulevard or even worse, Ames Avenue, it's kind of bad. Empty spaces and some rundown buildings. Can we please get something new like this to this project? Please vote to support this project. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LaPlante. And next speaker, please.
We have Miss Rose Angeline Good.
Ms. Good, floor is yours, minute 30.
Hello, Planning Commission and community members. I just wanted to call in to say I support this project. We are going to be having some hard times post-pandemic, and I think that we need to really prioritize building back up our economy, our local economy. A lot of the small businesses have been hurt, and if we bring the jobs, the people will come, they will spend their money in Milpitas, and that's what we need. And that should be our priority. I live near the transit area, and I think that another one of the callers had mentioned the noise. And if you've been in Milpitas for a long time, you already know that that's what comes with Milpitas is some type of level of noise, especially with the train and the BART nearby. So this is a good project. I think it's a good deal for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And next speaker, please.
Mandar Joshi.
Well, Mr. Joshi, floor is yours, minute 30.
Good evening, everyone. I'm calling in today to oppose.
And Mr. Joshi, we can barely get your voice. Can you speak up, please?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm calling in today to oppose the construction of this 1,000 Gibraltar Way project. This project has planned on operating 100 plus heavy size vehicles in this area. The ingress point for these trucks is going to be Montague Expressway. Montague Expressway also has a train track crossing, and there are a lot of communities around it. So many kids and even elderly and adults during the evenings have walks there. These heavy trucks moving around and the traffic created by those trucks is just going to cause a safety issue for the residents of those areas. Apart from the pollution and the trees, I think the safety issues for our kids is more of a concern for me. So I urge everyone to vote no for the project. I thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. And the next speaker, please.
DK.
Ms. K, please. The floor is yours, minute 30. Ms. K. Ms. Medina, is the speaker still with us?
She's still in the queue. She just needs to unmute herself.
Ms. K, would you please unmute so that we can hear you?
Okay, we could move on to the next one.
Please.
And if she logs back in, I'll bump her up. Next, we have Phil Sualua.
Mr. Sualua, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I wanted to call in and voice my support for this project. I wanted to thank Mr. Riley for an informative and positive EI report. I want to thank Mr. Tessimer and Overton Moore for signing on to use union labor. I'm a member of 104. I've been here. I'm a Milpitas resident for 23 years, and I support this project, and I think it's a win-win. So I want to, what was it? What was I say? I'm sorry. I just want to voice my support and hope you vote yes on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sualua. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
Next is Dina Dacayos.
Ms. Dacayos? Ms. Dacayos, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Thanks for having me. I strongly support this project. Thanks, Overton Moore and your employees for talking to us and showing me your plans and how you work with people. I really like the project. It's going to be a great addition to Milpitas and our area. Thank you for keeping as many trees as you could and making sure the building is a high quality. That will bring a nice business here. Hopefully, other businesses in Milpitas Boulevard will follow your example. Please vote yes for the 1,000 Gibraltar Company. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dacayos. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
We have DK back in the queue. I'm going to bump he or she up to talk.
Okay, please.
Hi, my name is Dee, and I'm a resident of the community right next to the proposed project. I strongly recommend that the council reject this proposal. Here are 3 reasons. I think the project is going to reduce our quality of life overall. The first reason is the various reports by the city staff and consultants have consistently shown that this project increases noise and traffic and pollution levels. And the families here are directly impacted by it. The mitigations shared are not sufficient and will not kick in for many years. The second reason is none of the studies have mentioned the disproportional impact that noise, traffic, and pollutants are going to have on children. This is a neighborhood with more than 5,000 residents, and there are a significant number of children who will be disproportionately impacted by this. The third reason is we're all for economic development of our city and community, but not at the cost of its residents. Today, the road on which the project is going to be situated is used by all the residents for walking and biking. With this becoming a warehouse center, we're going to have nowhere to walk in our neighborhood, given that Montague Expressway and South Milpitas Boulevard are already busy and only going to get busier, especially with truck traffic. Thank you for your time, and I ask that you vote strongly no to this project.
Thank you, Ms. Kate. And Ms. Medina, next, please.
We have Jacqueline Romero.
Ms. Romero, the floor is yours, minute 30.
Good evening, City Planning Commissioners. Thank you for the time. I've been a resident here in Milpitas since 1983. I'm a part of many nonprofit organizations in Milpitas, although tonight I have to represent myself. There are many reasons to approve this project already shared by previous supporters. One of the most important things for Milpitas is for Milpitas to have community partners and good neighbors. Overton Moore has been proactive to be a great neighbor and support many community programs. These are the kind of businesses that we want in Milpitas. This is a great project for the zoning of that area. It's great to hear so many good neighbors in support of this project. As you know, every building goes through their life cycle. It's time. It's been 30 years. So yes, it's time for this property to be revitalized. Please keep in mind the zoning of the building. As I listen to the opposition to this project, it seems to be based on the past decisions to build homes near this heavy industrial area, which is really concerning to me. Building so many homes next to already established industrial area is really the issue here. And so again, this is a great project for the zoning of that area. So I ask you to support this project. Thank you once again for your time and for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
Next, we have Thirumal Raghunath.
Okay, I'm not going to try the name just yet. So, sir or ma'am, floor is yours for minute 30.
Hi, thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for the opportunity. I live a block away from the proposed project, and I go for a run in that route every week. I don't feel safe going there with hundreds of trucks going in and out of their project site. Mitigation strategies are not convincing and does not address the problem of pollution and traffic congestion. Repainting a bike lane doesn't help much. I am for bringing more business and economic activity, but it need not cause so much negative impact on the environment and the quality of life of so many residents in the vicinity. I strongly urge the commissioners to reject the proposal in the interest of keeping the beautiful walkways adorned by green trees. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Medina, how many more speakers do we have?
At this time, we have two more.
Okay, great. And next speaker, please.
Esme Jones.
Okay, Ms. Jones, the floor is yours. Minute 30.
Oh, she's muted.
Can you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Let's do as we did earlier, and if she logs in again,
thank you.
Bump her up. Next, we have Prafula Kota.
Mr. or Ms. Kota, the floor is yours. Minute 30. Can you unmute so we can hear you? Mr. or Ms. Kota?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you. So I would like to oppose the project. In the environmental impact report, we did see that there are some hazards that are unavoidable and significant impact. It's understandable that this project would provide more revenue and jobs for the city. However, I urge the commission to also consider the negative health impacts and hazards on the people living closest to the community surrounding the Bob McGuire Park. More than the impact of air quality or sound, it is the impact of hazardous chemicals like nitrous oxide, which are more concerning, and this would have long-term effects on the community, everybody in the community. And this is the community that is closest to the site the project is being considered. So I would strongly urge that this project should not be approved, especially at the cost of the health and the lifestyle of nearby residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corda. And Ms. Medina, do we still have speakers?
Yes, we do. Esme Jones is back.
Okay.
And we have 2 more after her.
Okay. So if you will bring up Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones, the floor is yours, minute 30. Ms. Jones, would you please unmute so we can hear you? Ms. Jones, please unmute.
Okay, we'll move on to the next.
Please.
Next is Jose Mexicano.
Mr. Mexicano, floor is yours, minute 30.
Thank you. Hello?
Loud and clear, please speak.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Jose Mexicano, and I am resident of Milpitas and member of Labor's International Union of North America Local 270. I urge you to move forward with this project. A project like this will not only benefit my family, but it will also benefit many families from Local 270 that live in Milpitas. Jobs like this will bring good paying jobs and benefits. So I ask and urge you to move forward with this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And the next speaker, please.
And the next speaker is Alejandro Martinez.
Mr. Martinez, floor is yours, minute 30. Sir, would you please unmute so we can hear you?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Alejandro Martinez. I am a City of Milpitas resident and a La Yuna Labor's Local 270 member for over 6 years. The reason I am here is because I am in favor of the Jabal Drive project. Thanks to a project like this, I am able to have a good livable wage and provide my family with good benefits. Projects like this help our community workers have a good local stable job and be able to have a roof over their head and live in the city they live in. I urge you to please pass this project because even though we're going through a pandemic, I'm still able to sustain my family, provide them with the adequate necessities, and have a hot, warm meal in my table. Thank you for your time. Our community depends on you, and I know the right decision will be made tonight. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And Ms. Medina, next speaker, please.
That'll be it. The
That'll be
2
it?
that we have in the queue, those 2 names have already spoken for this agenda item.
Thank you very much, Ms. Medina, for your work. And circling back to the commission, since this is a public hearing item, so can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Alcorn and a second by Vice Chair Chuan. And Chair will go down the road to call for the vote. Commissioner Albana. Commissioner Albana.
Are we, hold on, are we voting?
No, we are voting to close
close the public hearing.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn. Commissioner Alcorn.
Oh, sorry. Aye.
Are you still with us? Thank you. Thank you. And Vice Chair Chuan.
Aye.
And the chair's aye as well. Public hearing is closed. Commissioners, discussions, questions, and please raise your hand. Commissioner Alcorn.
So in gathering kind of all the info from the public forum and the presentations, I want to bring up a few points here. The first point is kind of interesting. Whenever we get a housing development here, we hear complaints of, hey, why are we building more housing? Let's bring in more jobs. And then we get something that will bring in a massive amount of jobs. And then we hear, never mind, I don't want this either. That's just an interesting point. I want to look at what this area is zoned for. So this area is zoned for this exact type of project. It seems new because this is what the market is calling for right now. I don't know how many people are looking at the industrial market here. That LifeScan building probably will never get leased again. That's not what people are looking for. People are looking for, larger, taller buildings like this to house their businesses in. Now, this project could open the door to business sales, which generates a massive amount of sales tax for the city. That's, of course, it's not a guarantee, of course, but if we leave a vacant building, then we're guaranteeing no business transactions. Mm-hmm. And so I would like to say that this is going to open the door to the possibility of a lot more business transactions. And a lot of people right now are saying, well, out of this pandemic, we need jobs. We need good, stable jobs. Well, hey, I just want to point out that this is an opportunity to bring in good, stable jobs in Milpitas that will actually directly help Milpitas with the agreements into the labor unions that we have. And we've heard public support of that already. So that all being said, and I am more than open to discussion about this, but I want to put this on the floor early. I actually want to make a motion here, and I understand that other commissioners might still have comments, and that's totally fine. But I do want to put this out right now. I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-006.
Commissioner Alcorn, if I could just clarify, because this is two resolutions before the commission tonight, we would first make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-07, certifying the EAR. And then once that vote is made, we would make a motion to adopt resolution 21-006.
Okay, we can totally do that. So I think certifying the EIR would be the better place to start here. I think we need to do that before we can vote on the site development permit.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-007. 007, I like that. Certifying the environmental impact report pursuant to the Public Resources Code sections 21080-D and 21082.2D and CEQA guideline sections 15064. So this is just certifying the EIR.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Alcorn for the certification of the EIR, and a second by Commissioner Belong. So commissioners, any other discussion items on this particular point you'd like to make prior to chair calling for the vote? Okay, I cannot see all the participants here, so so I'll go ahead and call for the vote. I didn't hear anyone speak up either. Okay, so Commissioner Albana.
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Galan. Commissioner Galan, your vote, please.
Aye, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Ciardella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Tron.
Aye.
Chair is a no. So motion passes 6-1 in favor of the motion on the floor. So we have the next resolution, please.
So, and again, if you would like to make comments on this next resolution after this, I'm not shutting you out here or trying to rush anything. I just want to put this on the floor early. I'm still open to discussion after, but I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-006, approving site development permit P-SD19-0008 and tree removal permit P-TR19-0007 and environmental assessment P-EA20-0004, subject to the findings and the conditions of approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Alcorn and a second by Commissioner Ciradella. And any other discussions or amendments to the motion on the floor?
Through the chair, are there any, I just want to, I took notes and I know there was a requirement for certification by tenants or, for 24.
I am so happy you brought that up, Martin, because that was actually my condition of approval that just slipped my mind. Thank you. So my condition of approval would be the yearly certification from the tenants in regards to the make and I believe it's make and model and year of the trucks used for the facility.
Is there a year that which you want to certify this to?
2014,
Okay.
as accordance to the restrictions that have been put in place.
Thank you, staff. You got it? Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Ciradella, your second is still good?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Discussions by any of the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, Chair will call for the vote. Commissioner Albana. Commissioner Albana, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Galan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Ciradella.
Aye.
Commissioner Belong.
Aye.
Commissioner Alcorn.
Aye.
Commissioner Chuan.
Aye.
And Chair's vote is no. And this is a very, very reluctant no. I think it's a good project, and it's a project that which serves many of the purposes that which is designed. It's nothing against the Overton Moore or the consulting team that's assembled. Great work there. I think there's some questions and issues that is not completely answered to it. So we wish Overton Moore and their future tenants to do right by the city. And this motion here's passed 6-1. Motion passes, and would like to congratulate the applicant on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Taskmore, for bringing the project forth to the city. And we look forward to a successful project going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item here's new business, and there are no items under new business. So a little legal news to read. Any person aggrieved by any final decision of any board, commission, or department head to the city of Milpitas may appeal the decision to the city council by filing written notice of the appeal with the city clerk within 12 calendar days of the date of said decision and paying the required fee. That this time limit shall be strictly enforced. And the next agenda item, here's adjournment. May I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'm sorry, is that Commissioner Belong's motion?
That was Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. And second from Commissioner Albana. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much and thank you for your patience for a long meeting this evening, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.